Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking Vosh bad, and you're largely right. I'll not be challenging your priors too substantively today. Hello, we changed the lighting in here. Does it look better? The answer is yes. You'll notice that the camera is no longer getting its back blown out by the light on the back wall. Howdy. That is the hope, at least. Oh, and by the way, right now the twitch.tv servers are having a real one. So if you're watching on Twitch and you're experiencing stuttering, do not blame me. Hassan was bitching about it on Twitter. It has nothing to do with me. It's just Twitch right now. You know, it's just Twitch. Cool shelf thing. Yeah, back there we have some anime figurines. We have my Warhammer 40K models on the second light. You see that? Down there you can see Leo. And the blue-haired guy from Promare, I forget what his name is right now. I'm blanking a little bit. And then you've got my 40K models, and you can see the Dune Crawler painted right there. See? Gallo, thank you. I kept want to say Kamina, you know. And then more anime stuff up there, I think. They're a blur. Yeah, well, that's how cameras work. Howdy. Hey, Comrade Sarah, true. The fastest man in the world is an Italian, now comment? Jesus. That's fucking disgrace. Bad Banana did a video on you. I will never and have never cared about the opinion of that fucking lunatic. Watching Lieutenant 09, get into Warhammer lore because of you. Get Tyranid figurines. I'm not a big Tyranid fan. How are we doing? What's your opinion on Gurren Lagann? It's good. It's good, you know? There are, however, some parts of it that are pretty cringe, you know? There are definitely some cringe elements. But for the most part, it's pretty good, you know? Most of the problems with Gurren Lagann are basically like anime culture type problems, you know? Why is Yoko 14 years old? Come on. She doesn't look 14. She doesn't act 14. You made her 14 because you're a bunch of creeps and you're getting money from creeps. Come on, you know. Come on. What mic do you use? I use a Nintendo DS mic that came with my WarioWare game so that I could blow in it to help Wario slide up the slide. And that was this. This is what came with that. Uh Is that spit? It's dust. It's just dust on the top of a mic. It's been here for years. Yeah. Thank me for the new lighting. Yeah, it's cum. Hyena was the one who facilitated this positive change. Yes. Yeah, no, yeah, for sure. Have you watched anyone's commentary on your debate? I saw bits of Kyle Kalinski's videos on Secular Talk about it, and that was good. You know, I don't. Did you see Hassan's review of your debate? Did Hassan go over it? I didn't hear Hassan had gone over it. Yes, Kyle liked the debate. Don't walk around a spot. Yeah, we'll take a look at that shortly. Trollface? Yeah, no, I didn't think so. Kyle Kalinski's fans, big mad, he praised you. Actually, in the comment section, it seemed mostly fine. I watched Shoes. It was boring. She didn't say anything. Yeah, you know why? She was terrified to express a political opinion now that she hasn't framed through the veil of 17 layers of irony that she can do on Twitter or she can do in her videos. That's why. Hassan watched it last night off stream and recapped it at the beginning of his stream. Said you did pretty good. Oh, shit. That's nice. We might look at that. That'd be nice to look at, you know? He mentioned that at the beginning of this. Yeah, apparently Doe and Demon Mama covered it as well. And I know Hyena saw parts of that, and I saw clips from DMs on Twitter. Denims covered it. Yeah. Man, a lot of people covered it. Very briefly, we got to be the center of attention for, like, the online political environment, you know? So that's nice. You and Tim Pool have such good synergy. It'd be cool if you could pull him a bit to the left and he could push you a bit to the right. I'm sure you'd like that, Tron Panda. I will say this, though. I actually do, just in terms of the flow, I do like going on Tim Pool's show. That's not like an endorsement of his politics or anything. I just mean that in terms of like getting into a conversation, I think it's generally pretty well facilitated, you know? Sometimes when I'm talking with people, it feels like every advancement in the conversation is like something that you have to like force, you know? And sometimes the conversation moves along and, you know, that's nice. Regardless of any political differences. Dylan Burns, Lunderbox, and the source covered it. Damn, everyone covered it. Shit. Woo. Nice. Did you skate? No, I didn't fucking skate. Jesus Christ. Yeah. I can't skate. I'm not gonna skate. You want me to fucking die? Dude, Tim has like a whole Jonestown cult. When I went over there, there were so many people. As soon as we were done with the actual debate, I think I said this yesterday, but I'll say it again. After the debate was done, we head out, and there was a camera on me the whole time, like a mobile camera, like a professional one, and it was all like behind the scenes stuff while I talked to him and a bunch of other people in Tim Pool's entourage, you know. And they had the posters downstairs, and they had a sign, and like the illustrators did a drawing of me and of Charlie Kirk. And I signed those as well, but those go on Tim Pool's wall, and they showed me stuff. It was cool, you know. They have a bunch of 3D printers. Yeah, there were people really nice there. It's funny because I have a feeling that some of the people who work for him are fans of me, because there was this one woman who walked up to me and afterwards, and she was like, "Oh my God, it's so cool to see you. You did really good." And I was like, "Oh, thank you." You know, I really appreciate that. I shook hands with some people. You know, they were all pretty nice. The guy showed me some cool rainbow glasses that made things look like rainbows. You know, I don't know. Just a lot of people seem like they're having fun there on the compound. You know. I don't know. Well, anyway, excuse me. So that was all fun. Charlie didn't know what Alden's number is. And thank God for that, because it's a lot funnier when you guys haven't spoilt it by pushing that meme on everyone. Thank you, Dylan. I appreciate that. Does it ever seem weird to get along with right-wingers? No. Well, I'm capable of being civil to anyone, you know? I think anyone should be able to, you know? Like, that's just basic emotional control. If you're with a person, even a person you really personally dislike, you should always be able to summon the energy to be civil with them. And that even if you have a burning personal dislike for a person, which I feel towards like nobody in life right now, you know, just need to be able to move past that. Sam Cedar critically supports you. I saw this, man. Wait, hold on. XMR fan has pinned you. Just let me warm into it a little bit, okay? Let me dip my toes in some warm water.
Hey, Mr. Cedar. I have just a quick kind of comment I want to make. I have previously been subscribed to your show, but since my politics continue to go further left, I don't have the patience to be a regular listener, but I occasionally do check in. For interviews with the likes of Mr. Roseman, who you just had, and the eviction video with Mr. Dan, that was really informative.
Great.
I have also been a subscriber to the Jimmy Dore Show. I hope you don't bleep that out or edit that out.
I will edit out.
I can't hear him, by the way.
Oh, you can't. You
I think it goes in for a little while. Hold on.
can't hear him.
It's a little
on. I don't know when it was.
Yeah, exactly.
A week or two.
No, yeah.
But you're also misunderstanding the nature of and my understanding is that that Vaush did in.
Yep, that's me.
All right, this is where the criticism comes in.
Oh, here we go.
What?
So this is where the criticism comes in.
Yeah, go ahead.
If Jimmy Dore said half of the anti-black, anti-indigenous, transphobic things that Ian Kaczynski, aka Vaush, has said, you'd be taking a headshot daily. Yet the online left, which includes like the Serve, Crystal and Kyle, and yourself.
I just want to say, by the way, I don't mind people using my name because it's my name. The only people who call me Ian Kaczynski are Kiwi farmers and like Nick Fuentes fans. I just want to say it's very telling that a Jimmy Dore fan would do that because those are literally the only people, because it's some weird flex. Like they think it's like the real name gives them power over me or something. Like it's a fucking like the true name of an elf or a fairy or something, you know?
Giving him Vaush who's essentially a silver spoon white guy, a pass every single time. The first time he was on the Tim Pool show, he pitched that reparations shouldn't be based on race but class. And of course,
Oh, I saw people get mad about that. The dumbfuck MMA on Twitter said that like Vaush is anti-black because he thinks that reparations should be enacted in like a general approach to like address poverty in this country, you know?
Tim ate it up. Reparations should be for American descendants of slaves, no matter if they manage to escape poverty. Reparations needs to happen immediately and is a national issue. But
I do have a question though, and I've always had this question for people who want race-targeted reparations. How do you think that's going to go? Like, how do you think that's going to happen? Like, you're really saying that a substantial payout is going to be made and the difference is going to come down to the nuances of your heraldry? Like, that is going to be an unprecedented shit show. Like, that would, like, where do you draw that line? And how do you affirm it? Because one of the things with slavery is that we destroyed the records on a lot of that stuff. We don't have like a surefire database on any of that, you know? So are you going to literally do it on DNA? I mean, look, if I was capable of arbitrating the like perfect ethical solution, then I would say, yeah, race-targeted reparations are definitely something that we should do. But like in the real world, with real political implementation, you really want this to be a county-by-county like blood test to determine how African you are? Like, fuck, dude, there are so many ways that could, yeah, and it would cause an ungodly amount of racial animus. And what about mixed race people? How mixed race is, what are we doing, 1/8? 1/4? 1/2? Because mixed race people are often literally the descendants of raped slaves. Are we going to do like 1/8? What about the 1/16 people? How do you determine how much of an influence this has had on like the particular family line you're talking about? This is, to me, the practical implementation of this issue is almost insurmountable. So for me, the solution has to be like a race blind push. That's my belief, you know? Wouldn't it be better if reparations should be a reaction to those who were affected by the civil rights era? That would be easier to do. You would run into a lot of the same issues when it comes to like mixed race people. But that isn't what people want reparations for, right? People want reparations for slavery. That's what people talk about. If it's like reparations for Jim Crow laws, then it's like, oh, well, you know, it's kind of like a different thing. I mean, maybe, you know, possibly. I don't know.
time and time again, Vaush has, you know, what the online left calls let the mask slip. From the times that he uses the N-word to claiming that any trans person that disagrees with him has a mental illness. To
What the fuck? Hold on. If you disagree with me, you have a mental illness, but that has nothing to do with whether you're cis or trans, okay? That is nothing to do, all right? Those are completely separate things. That's called intersectionality, baby.
more recent things like claiming that we can't get out of the Middle East without an exit strategy, which has been, you know, the slogan for.
I love listening to stuff like this because I can see like every misunderstood talking point, every half remembered like 20-second video clip that they exclusively saw from like from like a different like from some hate watcher like clipping me and stuff. Yeah, it's so funny. That if I talked to this guy, I bet you like in 15 minutes this guy would break down. This guy would have like an actual breakdown. Because every perception that he has of me is borne out entirely from like the deliberate consumption of misinformation, you know?
The industrial.
Let me address this for a second.
Mm.
I love this.
I disagree with, obviously, with the idea that we need to tie reparations for descendants of slaves to class. I mean, we had Sandy Darity on, I don't know when it was.
Yeah, exactly.
A week or two.
No, yeah.
But
If there are good accounts, by the way, for like how you could practically implement that, then I'd be okay with it. It's fine.
you're also misunderstanding the nature of, and my understanding is that, you know, that Vaush did do some edgelordy stuff, and I'm not, frankly, too up to speed on it. But I will tell you this: I used the N-word on Air America. You know, I don't know what it was, 15 years ago, to make a point. I wouldn't do it today because I have
I love that. Thank you, Sam, for taking the circuitous route to defending me, where your response to this is to say, well, I've used the N-word. You know, I adore that. This is a Sigma male move, you know?
different, you know, sort of, and it wasn't, I want to be clear on how I was using it then. I was using it to represent what someone had said at that time.
Exactly.
And
what do you mean
so
exactly?
I'm not defending anybody's use of that word. And
wait, what do you mean exactly? When I said it, I was directly referring to the language of the neo-Nazi I was debating against. What? Oh, exactly. Unlike Vaush, because when Vaush said it, of course, he was using it at black people to say how they were bad, of course. What?
I wouldn't use it today, basically because, and I have to say that it's not a slam dunk for me. I think that like words must be taken in their context, but I also do appreciate the fact that it has certain connotations, particularly in today's day and age, that I wouldn't use it. But my arguments, but wait. I don't want to get sidetracked by this. My argument, the old white man arguments, the rich guy arguments between Jimmy and I are not on specific issue sets. Now, I want to make this clear. Like I don't, there's things I disagree with a lot of people that I don't go after them about. The reason why I have a problem with Jimmy is I believe fundamentally, it's not a question of like he's got a bad take on this or a bad take on that. I don't even care. It is because his project, fundamentally and broadly speaking, is disempowering to the broad left. That's why. And that he's teaching people to be stupid. That's like his project. I'm not saying there's one issue or not two issues. Like, we may agree on virtually every issue.
I don't think that's the case, but that's the point, is the overarching theme of what that project is.
Yeah, I don't know.
Not taking apart specific takes. Like I've never seen a second of Vaush's show. I know him from Twitter. Like I mean, so I.
By the way, I just want to say that before the camera started rolling, I'm pretty sure it's Charlie. Charlie Kirk asked me if it was Vaush or Vaush when I was there. This has gotten out of hand, guys. Okay, I thought this would be like a meme. People legitimately think it's Vaush more than they think it's Vaush, and he still said Vaush. Why? It's Vaush. It's not in what language is the V-A-U-S-H noise pronounced with an ow? Only in French? What about me is French? In Germany? No, in Germany it'd be Vaush.
I'm not going to be able to.
No, it wouldn't? Vaush? It'd be Vaush, but not Vaush.
Remark on his take specifically, but I'm aware that his project
actually, I'm sorry, in German it'd be Wausch, okay? Shut up. V's or W's in Germany, okay? Shut up.
Not that of Jimmy Dores.
And broadly speaking, I mean, I will mock right-wingers, you know, their takes on stuff, because one of the functions of the show is to literally just mock the right. And Jimmy Dore was the first person, I think, that I ever even contemplated beginning to mock on the left when it became clear to me that the guy was basically literally teaching his audience how to be stupid about politics.
Based. All right. Anyway, we're done with the self-aggrandizement for now, I think, as much as we can be, which is always fun. There are tons of donos we need to read, but we're going to do some stuff before we get to that. First of all, you missed the part where the caller called you a white supremacist. Oh, no doubt. No, I think he actually called me a white nationalist, didn't he? If I'm misremembering that. Didn't he call me a white nationalist? Or was that a different... I get it confused. A lot of people say a lot of different stuff about me. Yeah, white nationalist. There we go. The debate with Lance and Lauren is going well. Oh, hold on. Oh, no.
Was simply acknowledge any of the bad things you've done in the past, but you haven't. So I don't think the idea of you now doing this rebranding tour is anything more than you just seeing the writing on the wall. That's ultimately what this all is. You knew what was happening to your peers, and you were smart enough and astute enough to walk away from it.
You're such a bitch, Lance.
Okay. Bring it up.
Well,
Let's go. Let's go.
What?
Talk to me. I'm staying right here. I'm not going anywhere.
Oh yeah, throw 7,000 accusations at me and then ask me to respond to them. That's great. Connor and I are going to have a chat with my chat. And if you want to not be a bitch boy and have a full conversation another time, we can do that. And we'll arrange that.
Okay. You all have a pleasant afternoon.
I'm right here, Lauren. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to go talk to Connor.
I have to go join my family and my life, but I'm seriously, let's set this up for another time. Let's set this up for another time. I'm 100% for it. All right.
Sounds good.
See you later, bitch boy.
Was simply
She
acknowledge
sounds,
any of the bad.
She sounds a little bit fucking mad. She sounds a little bit fucking irate down there. Jesus Christ. Dylan, how like ass pained was Lauren during the course of that debate, you know? Like what happened? What even prompted this? I don't know. Look, it's legit. Like this is by the way, this is why I haven't talked to Lauren Southern, okay? Because I have 20 times the relevance that she does now. You know why that is? Lauren Southern correctly read the writing on the wall that the alt-right was getting killed on all social media. And she was one of the preeminent members of that, but she miscalculated. And rather than coming back as one shade away from alt-right, she came back as some misguided centrist. She whines about trans issues because she doesn't have the stones to talk about what she actually cares about, which is the white genocide, great replacement, whatever. But nobody cares anymore. All of her fans were like super far right, and what she is now is just disappointing. She was never covert enough to have accumulated a huge fan base of centrists beforehand. So she'll run around, she'll talk about trans issues, but I mean, at the end of the day, she knows she's been like, had her feathers clipped, you know? During ending statements, Lance brought up a lot of her history because she could not respond at the end, making her mad. Yeah, if I was ever going to talk to Lauren Southern, and I don't know why I would, but if I did, I'd want to talk about the shit she actually believes. Would I waste my time talking to Lauren Southern about this bitch shit she pretends to care about because she's not allowed to talk about anything more, when I could talk to her about, like, white genocide? Wouldn't that be more fun? That'd be way more fun. But she won't talk about that, of course, because she's trying to do the thing, so, yeah. You talk to Kirk, you can talk to Southern. Oh, to be clear, I could talk to her whenever I wanted. And she would delight in talking to me, I think, given that opportunity. Unless she knows correctly that it would be, you know, sort of a waste of time because she doesn't want to talk about any of the shit I would want to talk to her about. But since I only want to talk with her, maybe, about that stuff, there's no reason for her to talk to me, so... Kind of a cycle of disinterest there. Anyway, yeah. Godspeed. Please don't make me set. No, Dylan, I don't want to set. Why? I feel like the moderator thing, like setting it up with a moderator, further legitimizes it. The appropriate way to talk to Lauren Southern is while I'm playing video games, while I'm playing Elden Ring, she comes on for 5 minutes and then gets angry and leaves. That's like the appropriate context, you know? So when Elden Ring comes out, I'll set aside some 5-minute blocks and maybe she can come on during that, you know? You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. I don't know how the debate went because I didn't, like, see the whole thing. We should try to avoid laundering the reputations of people like that. Of course, platforming can be good or bad depending on the outcome, and it comes down to a ton of factors there, but You know what I'm talking about. That's what made her mad. What's this?
I could use a simile. It's kind of like you, Lauren Southern, because ultimately, if you had spent your career rising to become one of the darling children of the alt-right, palling around with people like Brittany Pettibone, Richard Spencer, touring around the globe with someone like, let's say, Stefan Molyneux, who is well known for measuring the skulls of black and white people, spreading the Great Replacement conspiracy, spreading the Great Genocide conspiracy theory, then going on tour spreading both of those conspiracy theories, in addition to going to join that far-right nationalist group, First Europa, and then joining them by shooting flares at immigrants, and doing all of this while at the same time all of it bubbles over and boils over to the point where at the end of the day you ultimately led to one of the people contributing towards the Christchurch shooting, who declared that the Great Replacement theory was one of the reasons why they committed the atrocity that they did. Afterwards, you then took everything back.
Pussy. You fucking pussy.
You took
Bringing this
everything
all
back.
up at the end.
All right. All right. All right. Good memes. Good memes. All right. All right. Has she's never actually said that she disavows any of that old stuff, right? Like she's LARPing as a centrist, but she's never actually said like, yeah, I was wrong to say all that, right? Yeah. Given those conditions, like, why would anyone ever talk to her? Seriously. Like, can you imagine if David Duke went offline for like a year and he came back and he's like, I'm really concerned about the national debt. And then he starts going on people's shows just talking about the national debt. And whenever you bring up the fact that he's David Duke, he gets really mad and leaves. Like that's like, why are we doing this? Come on. What's come on, guys. I just want to talk about the national debt. All right. God. Stupid ass shit. Did you see the talk between Dee and Roseburst over learn platforming? No, I don't see anything from there anymore. Whatever, I don't care. Do you think platforming Lauren Southern in a debate is counterproductive? Well, yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. That's the point that I'm making here. It's that there's no point because she doesn't care about any of the issues she's talking about. She's just trying to get eyes on her. She cares about the alt-right shit. That's why she hasn't disavowed any of it. But she's worried about the consequences of her continuing to talk about it, so instead she tries to get attention in other ways. But, like, it's just really dishonest, you know? I'm okay with just letting her fade away, you know? Do people still take her seriously? Not really, no. Yeah, all right. Wait, hold on. Is Hyena watching? Hyena said they were going to get me water like 30 minutes ago. Aren't the colors back here so much nicer? Like, when I'm not blocking them, you know? I turned the ISO down to, like, 1600 from 4000, but I had to turn the front lights on way, way, way higher to get my face appropriately bright, you know? We'll play around with the lighting, but right now we'll do this, okay? How do you feel about the criticism that you didn't go hard enough on Charlie Kirk at certain points in your debate? I'm always going to get criticism from both sides, you know? It's always going to be, some people say, oh, you could have gone harder. Some people are going to say, oh, you went too hard on this point. It's important in environments like that to be, you know, careful and measured in how you respond to these issues, because the people in that audience are looking for any excuse to disbelieve me. And here's the thing, by the way. If you're a Tim Pool fan, okay, what are you going to be like? If I speak up, if I go hard on a point, like 90% of them are just going to stop listening to me right there. Oh, he's a triggered SJW, blah, blah, blah. But, like, do you think Tim Pool fans are more likely to be moved over to the left because I dunked on Charlie Kirk's point 17 times as opposed to, like, 23 times, you know? Like, I feel like when it comes to a risk-reward thing, tone is almost more important. The people who wanted me to go harder on Kirk were the leftists, but you guys are already leftists, so you can't inform, you know, my approach on this first and foremost. It has to be, what do I think the people listening to me who dislike me, what do I think they would respond to? And in that respect, I think I did better. You know, I think I did well. Besides, instead of getting angry at him, I think there were points where I styled on him without getting angry. So it's really about optics. It's always about optics. There's nothing but optics. It's just a black hole of optics, unfortunately. I wish it was substantive, but no, it's optics. There were a couple of points where I feel like I got in like pretty hard too. The gay marriage stuff was pretty funny, I think. Had a lot of fun in that. Did I get a bump in subs on YouTube? Yeah, for sure. Do you think the primary issue with debating CRT is they have no definition for it? Do you guys want to hear, like, I did a ton of research. Do you guys want to hear, like, what CRT is actually about? Like, since I took the time to learn about it anyway, you know? Yeah. Okay. So, I'm not an academic, like, expert on this or anything, but from what I took the time to learn, basically, you had, okay, so you have something called law. It's pretty cool, you know? And then you have critical legal studies, which was basically a legal theory that was taught. It was considered a fairly radical legal theory. It was taught in some universities. It's still taught in some universities. And from it, critical race theory has become again, this is like something you would take an elective course on. When you're at law school, you know, you're taking your courses. Here's like being a cunt 101, and here's overcharging your client, you know, like 300 and stuff. And then you have maybe critical race theory where you got like a little foray you can take into that. And as far as I can tell, for the most part, it seems to be a rejection of the idea that that legal formalism puts forward. The idea that like laws are these rigid things which people interpret in a factually and deterministically correct way, that there is a correct interpretation of the law and that people adhere to it as long as they act in good faith. But the perspective of the critical legal theorist is largely that interpreting a law is in and of itself an act of legislation. Let me ask you guys a question. Do you think it's a bit of a weird coincidence that left-leaning judges overwhelmingly interpret cases in a left-leaning way and right-leaning judges overwhelmingly interpret cases in a right-leaning way? Is that odd to you? Kind of self-evident, right? I mean, we all know the world works that way. And that's because there are a range of reasonable legal interpretations of any given law, and where a person might sit on that range can be determined by their political biases. Now, that's critical legal studies. Now, here's a question for you with regards to race. Do you really believe that laws, both in their writing and in their application, are race blind? I mean, I think most of the people here would believe they're not. Pretty evidently, you know. A good example is this. Really quick. Poll taxes. Poll taxes and literacy tests and the grandfather clause. So for those of you who don't know, way back at the beginning of the 20th century, you know, black people could vote. Isn't that crazy? But some folks didn't like that. So what they did was they found ways to selectively discourage black people from voting, which were not in the text racially biased. So here's an example. A literacy test. In order for you to vote, you have to either A, pass a literacy test, or B, be judged of good character. And you'll never guess which race of people were more likely to be judged of good character. I mean, seriously, can you believe that was a law of good character? Like, how do you even substantiate that? Now, the Southern literacy tests, by the way, were, like, impossible to beat. Seriously. If you want to, you can go on Google, find a scan of a 115-year-old Southern literacy test. Yeah, here, I'll find one. Hold on. Southern literacy test. Could you pass this literacy test designed to disenfranchise African Americans? Let's find out. Come on, give me the. Do we want it? Are there photos that aren't loading here? You know, it might be helpful if we. No? Okay. I guess I failed it already. Oh, here we go. State of Louisiana literacy test. This test is to be given to anyone who cannot prove a 5th grade education. Hey guys, which race of people immediately after the end of slavery do you think were less likely to be able to prove a 5th grade education? You can just wonder, you know. Draw a line around the number or letter of this sentence. By the way, you have 10 minutes to complete all this. Draw a line around the number or letter of this sentence. What? Maybe this? Like the one here? This one? Draw a line under the last word in this line. Okay, that's line. Cross out the longest word in this line. Longest, okay. Draw a line around the shortest word in this line. A, okay. Circle the first letter of the alphabet in this line. The first A, the first A of the alphabet, for this A in alphabet. In the space below, draw 3 circles, one inside, engulfed by the other. 3 circles, one engulfed by one other. Above the letter X, make a small cross. This X. Cross, okay? Draw a line through the letter below. That comes earliest in the alphabet. What? If you're wondering, by the way, this is deliberately written ambiguously. Yes, B. This is deliberately written ambiguously. Do you know why? Because all of these are logic puzzles. And if you fail any of these, one wrong answer denotes failure of the test. But guess who graded these tests? The almost always white poll booth workers who knew what the game was. The purpose of this test essentially was to create a very difficult to pass roadblock that they could use with a deliberate level of ambiguity to selectively target people of color. This is from 1965. Is this one from 1965? They were used for decades. This English does seem a little bit more modern than something that would have been written at the very beginning of the 20th century. I think I actually remember seeing this before. In the link? I don't see anything in there in the link. Yeah, this wasn't that far off. The bottom link. Oh, here we go. Oh, yeah. 1965 test. Yeah, there it is. Oh, well, the link's dead now, but so listed, you know. Keep it real, half those Southern whites wouldn't pass the test either. They wouldn't have to. They were judged of good character. Or they could prove they had a 5th grade education. The point that I'm trying to get at here, nothing in the literacy tests, the laws that were written, had anything to do with race. At all. None of it did. Flat out. Okay, yes, TJ Kirk made video. Thank you, chat. I see. We're doing a thing. None of them actually mentioned race. But the way they were applied certainly did have a racially discriminatory effect. Now, what about the grandfather clause? See, when it came to the poll tax and the literacy test, they thought, well, this still may disenfranchise too many poor whites. And it did. Poor white people were disproportionately discriminated against by these tests, though not nearly as much as black people. But they added a clause. Let me find it real quick so I don't get the date wrong. Grandfather clause. You're going to like this one, okay? The grandfather clause. I love this law, okay? The origin. The original grandfather clauses were contained in new state constitutions, and Jim Crow laws passed between 1890 and 1908 by white-dominated state legislators, including Obama, Georgia, Louisiana, North Carolina, Oklahoma, and Virginia. Now, where is the specific... True, Obama. Yeah, he did it. Thanks, Obama. Now, where is the specific year listed? Does it say here? Where is it? Why am I blanking out on this? Didn't I look at this earlier? Huh. I can't find it. Well, I thought I remembered reading this on this page while I was over in DC, but the point that I'm trying to get at here is the grandfather clause was added to these constitutions to allow you to bypass these voting restrictions as long as you could prove your grandfather would have been able to pass them back in the year before slavery was abolished. Yeah, 1865. Basically, it was like, okay, well, if you can't pass this stuff, as long as someone in your family could vote back in 1865, then you're okay. And essentially it was like, okay, now technically this doesn't mention race, but literally no black people could ever have that apply to them, you know? Like, okay, you have to take literacy tests, whatever, but okay, as long as you were a slave back then, you know? Before Civil War would have equaled 1861. Well, it depends on when the law would have been passed. Back in when did the Civil War end? Civil War dates. Yeah, it ended in 1865. So, yeah, back in 1865, if you could prove those qualifications, you probably weren't a black guy. Anyway, we're getting way off on the topic here. The point that I'm trying to get at is that these are very obvious examples of racial discrimination through law that don't mention law. So this is some of the stuff that I was saying when I was talking about the North Carolina voter ID law, the result of which, by the way, as far as I can tell, has been overturned by a higher court. What did I say instead of race? Don't mention race. These laws don't mention race, but they're clearly racially biased. Fair? Okay, fair. So critical race theory started principally on the idea that, yes, there is no inherent or existentially correct underlying interpretation to law, and that the variances between how these laws can be interpreted, the discretion, has been used to serve racist aims in the past, and that we have to acknowledge that. And what's more, in order to combat that, we need to take laws that exist and we need to interpret them in ways which produce the best outcomes for us. That we need to be essentially activist legislators, activist judges, that our understanding of the law has to be informed not just by the fact that bias exists, but that we should maximize the bias towards our ends, which is in their case racial equality. Critical race theorists are big believers in intersectionality. That's a thing that they like. And critical race theory has been criticized for relying heavily on storytelling, in that there are elements of the text, the foundational text of critical race theory, which are more about these kind of explorative literary works than they are like comprehensive analyses of like case studies, you know? And there's some criticism there and there's some variety. As I understand it, narrative framing is pretty common in many modern legal decisions. Is that not correct? I'm not a lawyer, but as I understand it, with time there has been a shift more towards narrativization when it comes to legal decisions and to the formation of law, that it's used in arguments, that it's formed as part of the sort of broader approach towards creating and interpreting these things. So maybe critical race theory was a little ahead of its time in that respect. Look, I'm no expert on critical race theory or anything like that. I'm just not. But it was really interesting, the stuff that I listened to, and I read some excerpts from some seminal texts that I thought were quite fun. And if you're at all interested in that stuff, you should give it a look as well. Just keep in mind, okay, none of this stuff is getting taught to like young people, all right? Because they couldn't understand it. It's postgraduate stuff, you know? The most young people might be getting taught is a very basic introduction to the concept of critical race theory, which is like in the same way that I was given a basic concept of like higher level physics when I was in high school. Like, this will be, if you get into it in college, this will be what it'll look like. But they didn't like test me on it, you know? You might get a little bit of an intro, but more like this is what lays in your future if you decide to take that road kind of thing. And likewise, another thing that people will do, and this is a very common tactic, is they'll say, oh, you say critical race theory isn't being taught to young people, but here are some elements of critical race theory being taught to young people right now. The problem is there are elements to critical race theory that aren't just exclusive to critical race theory, like intersectionality. Intersectionality isn't exclusive to critical race theory. It's been around for a lot longer than that. There are conservatives who say this is critical race theory while they point at structural racism. That's not new. That is not an acknowledgement of systemic racism in America is not some new component of critical race theory, okay? That one's been around for a while. This is one of those Hitler drank water situations where there's a ton of overlap between all these different academic theories, and while there are elements of critical race theory taught, like, you know, to young people, there are elements of lots of fundamentally high-level theories taught to young people, you know? I mean, there are, like, for example, like, we live in a liberal democracy, the extent of which can be understood through, like, PhD-level economic courses, but when you're in 3rd grade, your teacher shows you a supply-demand chart. So it's like, oh my god, there are elements of postgraduate economic theory being taught to 3rd graders. And they point at the supply-demand chart, and I mean, it's true. Supply-demand curves are indeed a part of economics at every level, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's what those kids are getting, you know? 3rd grade, you were shown a supply-demand chart. Wasn't it like Butter and Guns or something? Like with the 2 charts? I don't know if it was 3rd. Maybe it was like 5th grade? I don't know. I don't know. Oh, Dan Eater, intersectionality, as far as I'm concerned, is objectively correct and everyone should be taught it. Easily. It is absolutely 100%. I cannot fathom a substantial critique against the basic principles of critical race theory. That is just insane. Here's Hassan talking about the debate if you still want. Oh yeah, sure. We'll give this a look and then we'll take a look at a video. Hold on. Hit it. Azan.
On stream. Anyway, regardless, I watched that shit on my own time to see if it's like worth watching on stream.
Can somebody more in the know tell me why he's wearing a Reagan Bush 84 hat? Just curious, you know.
But it's like, it's basically like, if you're aware of all the fucking talking points, if you heard it from your parents and you've heard the counters from me responding to people, dumbasses in the chat, is like, dumbasses in the chat, it's like, I've said this a million times already. It's, you see one of these, you see all of them, because all conservatives basically do is repeat the same talking points that they get from the same place. And like a lot of times it's not even just that, but then also a lot of times they're actually using talking points from like previous generations and their conservative movements. Charlie MLK was a mixed bag, Kirk. Yeah, the stuff about social justice, CRT, and about like you know, black existence in America, that was not good at all, in my opinion. And the reason for why it was not good at all, in my opinion, is because like I think Vosh is an excellent debater, but he makes a lot of concessions, specifically because he knows his audience. He's talking to a bunch of you know, potential Tim Pool fans that he could steal over to his side, and I feel like either as a consequence of like a lack of knowledge in that particular field, or B, because he wants to like appeal to that audience by not coming across as like really radical, he makes concessions in many circumstances that if you're a little bit more knowledgeable on the subject, you're like, oh, what the fuck, dude? Why would you say that?
So this I'd have to ask, what concession did I make though? I do have to wonder, because people say this, but like on what? You know? I don't know what the concessions would be. The only like alleged concessions that I've seen people cite was the whole class-based reparations thing, but that's not a concession. I've believed that for a long time. Kirk asked about CRT and Marxism stuff and you didn't answer. He didn't ask about Marxism. He like brought it up and said Marx was right, and that was like on some things, and that was his intro to it. But that was about it. Yeah. You conceded any form of self-respect with that jacket? Wrong. That jacket was based. You agreed with Charlie that LeBron would have it easier than white people? What? Or more that justice discrimination is caused by social class more than and possibly exclusively by race? That's true, though. What? Wait. Yeah, LeBron James will probably have it easier in the criminal justice system than your average white person. Yeah, 100%. Like, easily. That's one of the ways that, race-blind racism has become more common lately. It's, you push all of the negative externalities of racism, or most of them, onto class effects, and then you discriminate by class. That's like the big meme, you know? And that makes it easier to engage in racism. No, not just that. Charlie said explicitly you can regress to such a point that race isn't a factor in justice discrimination. Yeah, for like Kobe. Well, if Kobe got like jail, I would never go out there and say it was because of like racial discrimination. If you're like a multi-billionaire, well, racial discrimination doesn't like completely disappear against you. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna. I'm pretty sure that like the benefits of being uber wealthy are going to outweigh the potential social negatives of being black. Well, yeah, I know he's dead. Thank you. Probably before he died, you know.
Whereas, like, I definitely, part of the reason why I suck at debates and hate debating is because I get frazzled and literally fucking lose my shit. Like, if Charlie Kirk, in a conversation between me and Charlie Kirk, if Charlie Kirk were to say something along the lines of like, well, technically, in a lot of the colonies, like, slavery was abolished before America was even formed. So how dare you say America was a pro-slavery state? It's like,
from the Netherlands.
I would lose my mind. I'd be like,
yeah, people also get on my case about not responding well enough to that, and it's true, I don't have the dates every state abolished slavery memorized, and it's also true he ended up lying about some of those, but does it matter? He ended up conceding my point. I said that doesn't really matter. It's still one country, and 1/6 of the people in that country were slaves, so whether or not they're pushed into just a few of the states doesn't really change that proportion, and he didn't push back on that, you know?
are you fucking dumb? Do you think that I'm a fucking baboon? Like, do you take me for an idiot? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, you're really, are you talking down to me with the expectation that I am unaware of what the fucking reality is, what the history is? It was really, really, like, the anti-vax stuff was very good. Am I wrong, or isn't Vosh just a fucking fascist? No, he's not a fucking fascist. He's like, if anything, he's like, you know, he's a fucking libertarian.
Wait.
Anyway, the hat you're wearing, people literally.
Am I not to the left of Hassan? Wait, I'm sorry. I am not taking this today. I have had anarchist theorists on to talk about the potential for a completely okay, I'm okay. Yeah, okay, all right.
Literally have in Iowa. I was born and raised in Iowa, and it makes me ashamed to tell people that I'm from here because they assume I'm like the majority, which isn't good. Reagan Bush, yeah, brother. What the fuck you mean? Greatest team of all time. Ronald Reagan until Donald Trump was.
Much love, Hassie. Thanks for what you do every day, Hass.
He lied about that shit, by the way. I know he did. He did. Charlie lied about so much during that fucking debate. You know what I mean? And then Tim Pool was like pulling out information from whatever the fuck Citizen is. I don't know what the fuck Citizen is, but like, it was like, yeah.
Thank you for the water. I'm already ill from dehydration.
According to Citizen, only 53% of the public was in favor of Black Lives Matter. It's like, no, that's not true.
Yeah, and turns out the reason why he had that number was because he was looking at voters. 53% of voters, or something like that. But the total population, I think it peaked at like 68 or something.
There was like
Here we go.
100 different studies done. How the fuck did you find the one goddamn study that shows a significantly lower percentage of people showing public support to Black Lives Matter? There was like 100 fucking. There were so many goddamn studies conducted in the at that time. So most people don't even know what I'm talking about. I didn't watch it on stream. I watched it on my own, and I just like fucking got so mad. And but the fun stuff was the anti-vaxxer stuff, because it's like easy slam dunks from Vosh towards Charlie, and then like the racial justice reparations conversation is like, I'm not this person. Obviously, I'm fucking white, right? So I'm never the person who's like, oh man, white boys should stay out of this conversation, like stay out of black people's business. But like, goddamn, it literally was just like making me go, white boys should stay out of this fucking conversation. Holy shit!
2 months.
Because it was so like,
right has left.
I don't know. It was just so. It was really surface level, but overall, I think that.
Oh, sure, it was surface level. I can only get into so much depth in that environment. Again, like I guess I really need to hear like some good argument for how you could pragmatically apply reparations along racial lines, because I can't fathom it. I just can't imagine. Again, like morally, your reparations take is pretty controversial, I guess. Yeah, okay, that's true, but I think I reserve the right to be a bit irritated when it's boiled down to white boys stay out of it. My thing isn't controversial because I'm white. It's controversial because I've never been given a good argument for how a race-based reparations policy could be applied, you know? People are like, oh, you compromised on this, and oh, you're white, you should stay out of it. No, I just haven't heard a good argument for otherwise. I could be as woke or fucking... I could be like a black guy, just somehow make me black. Like, would that mean I've heard a better argument for it? You know?
Okay.
Overall, I think that... Oh, it's Civ IQs is literally the first results if you look at BLM approval rate, really?
Civ IQ.
Overall, I think Vosh did a good job. Okay? I think he did a pretty solid job of like portraying himself as like a normal person with like good rational ideas. Maybe he'll be able to like change some dumbass debate lords' minds. I've always talked about how, you know, while I personally think debates are bullshit overall, there's still a 20% in that audience that could be swayed, and they will be swayed by whoever the fuck is more rhetorically gifted. And Vosh is very good at rhetoric. Like I know more about a subject than he does in certain circumstances. Like I knew that the J&J vaccine is not a fucking mRNA vaccine. He doesn't.
I forgot that.
But the way he maneuvers around issues where he's like uncertain is so good. You can tell, like, you know what I mean? You can fucking tell when he doesn't know something, but he's doing a really good job covering for that lack of knowledge with rhetoric. And that's really important in a debate. So.
I think that's actually, especially when it comes to conspiracy stuff, that's actually one of the most important skills you can have. Because when you're talking to a conspiracy theorist, there's always some fact they're going to bring up that you don't know. Every time. Whether it's the vaccine stuff, the Holocaust denial, flat Earth, whatever. There's always going to be something. Or the big lie, the Donald Trump having the election stolen. There's always going to be something you don't know. The best thing that you can do then, in addition to, you know, memorizing as many facts as possible, is to be as capable of working around the knowledge that you have, you know? Now, conservatives do this well, because conservatives by default know nothing. They go into the situation knowing very little, and then they compensate for that by dogmatically repeating a collection of stupid talking points so loudly that you have to deal with them. That's their strategy. I don't want to sink to that level, you know, but...
Holy fucking shit, dude. What happened to you? What do you mean?
Okay, I guess he's done. The main thing that I got out of the critical race theory thing was really simple, because Charlie Kirk didn't even dare talk about it. And it was the state bans. I said multiple times, no matter what you think of this, I reject the idea that, okay, he's not done yet. I reject the idea that the state should intervene. I said like half a dozen times, like, I don't think the state should touch on this. I think academia is sacred. And Charlie Kirk never actually touched it, which means that as far as I'm concerned, I would have won if that was all I got, you know? The idea that like, okay, you can disagree with CRT if you want, but it is it is vital that it be left untouched by government censors, you know?
Jesus Christ, did we watch the same debate? No, he isn't. What? Are you okay, man?
Hey, Stephen.
Is your brain all right? Are you getting concussed? I don't know why should you have had a disastrous concessions? Oh. As far as concessions goes, I mean, I wouldn't think that they're fucking disastrous, but they were like, if you understand what the goal is there, thank you, Temporary Achilles, for the 10 tier 1 gives the subs. If you understand what the goal is there, and the goal is there to fucking take, like, you know, bring over like fucking little white debate lord boys that love watching Tim Pool over to your fucking side, I think that he did a good job, and I think that is his stated purpose, and I think that's one successful. That's like probably the most you can get out of a fucking debate.
Purpose driven. He's got nice vibe music.
What is this?
Did he commission that?
What's
Or is
wrong
it
with
from
Mark
YouTube?
MLMs? Oh my god. Oh my fucking god. This guy.
Nah,
I bet this is
of course the person criticizing me would be a fucking Maoist, dude. Of course. Oh my god.
because good say for not being ableist for once. Apologize to Peru. Why? Because I fucking talked about what is it, the Shining Path or whatever. Fucking meme ass takes, dude. I will never apologize to Peru.
Looking real readable NGL.
I'm kind of vibing right now, though.
No, MLM doesn't mean multi-level marketing in this circumstance. In
It
my
does.
chat, MLM, when someone is talking about MLMs, they're talking about Marxist-Leninist Maoists. Okay? Most certainly, they're not fucking talking about multi-level marketing. They're talking.
Is there a difference between a Maoist and a Marxist-Leninist Maoist, or do they just like saying more because it makes them feel better? I feel like calling yourself a Marxist-Leninist Maoist is like the verbal equivalent of pinning on a bunch of useless medals. Like as a general, you know? There is, Vosh? I don't care. They're all dumb. I don't care. Yes, I, a white Westerner, have intellectually outpaced the entirety of the real, actual socialists in the developing world. True! Any truers in chat? You know it's true. 100%. Yeah, it's like saying wet liquid water. Yeah, like, okay. Wait, geez, I don't get it, man. Juchist, Marxist-Leninist, Stalinist, Maoist, Marxist-Leninist, Stalinist. Just call yourself a dumb fuck. Just... What? Just call yourself a dumbass. What? We already have the word. Jesus. All right, okay. Oh, God. Yeah, I'm a big subscriber to the theory of Marxism dumbfuckism, you know? If you have time, I can explain how to get around the testing blood thing and reparations. No. So to be clear, I'm sure that there are logistical ways to somewhat accurately determine which families should be the recipients, the beneficiaries of reparations in a race-based sense. The problem is that politically it's unfeasible. So whatever metric you decide on, there's going to be edge cases, and those edge cases are going to go on the news, okay? Those edge cases are going to go on the news, and they're going to make a big stink about it if they don't get included, all right? On all of the varying lines there, even if they're only like a fraction of a percent of people fall on that line where there's some degree of arbitrariety as to which way they go, it is going to cause a huge fuss up. Not to mention the racial animus, man. Not to mention, like, can you imagine all the segments like, hey, I'm a poor white guy, my neighbor's getting money, but I'm not. My family didn't own any slaves. What's up? Like, it's just, I just think that, like, we should focus a little bit less on indebtedness and a little bit more on building a better future, you know? It just, I don't know. It just seems, if you're 1/2 black, you get 1/2 the money, like it's that easy. If you're 1/2 black, that probably means you're a descendant of like a raped slave. Does that mean you get less money? No, that wouldn't make it any better. I don't know. Also, it's not going to happen. Like, ever. Not to mention, man, can you even think, like... Can you even think of, like, the legal reality of that? Like, passing a law explicitly targeting a racial group for payouts? Like, oh, man. We're talking... Do you have any idea how many Supreme Court challenges it's going to get? Look, for real, it's a huge fucking political obstacle. Why don't we just chill and end poverty, okay? Oh yeah, and that's another thing. Just giving money to black people isn't going to fix shit. The problem with black poverty isn't that they aren't getting cash payments. It's that the entire structural network in this country, the economic, the political, the social, is all designed to funnel money out of black communities. If you give $60,000 to every black guy in America, like, that's good, it'll help them, but that's not going to go down to their next of kin. For the most part, it's not. It's going to go to car payments, which go to companies which are owned majority by white people. It's going to go to rent, which are owned by housing companies, which are owned by majority white people. It's going to go to businesses to buy products that are majority owned by white people. And all that money is going to end up circulating in an economy that keeps it out of the hands of black people. It's about the generational and systemic issues at hands here. It is not about, like, just handing people money. Handing people money doesn't fix long-term generational issues, you know? It's just... It's complicated. Can we disproportionately target POC with reparations in a non-explicitly racial way, just like the problem was caused in the first place? Well, you mean with, like, racial bias, but not in the letter of the law, but in the practice? I think that when determining which areas reparations should go to in terms of rebuilding the community, a ton of those areas are going to be like urban POC areas. And I think that's good. I don't know. Just... Yeah, Sam the Man. Luna Oi is mad. So? It's Luna Oi. I love all the... Wait, hold on. I love Twitter, man. Oh, man, I love it. I love all these people mad about Surfs and Dylan Burns talking to Lawrence Southern right after Vosh, quote, had a wonderful time hanging around with Charlie Kirk and Tim. You're discontent with their actions of zero impact with their desire to get more clicks. Wait. I didn't actually just hang out with them. We did a debate. Praxis is when you debate Nazis and racist scums online to prove you're smarter than them. Funny, that's what I'd be doing if I talk with Luna Oi. Has Luna Oi ever said anything racist? She's a right-winger. She has to have, right? I guarantee you if I looked through something... Probably... Wait! Uyghur Muslims. Easy. There's no way she believes that China's committing a genocide. Is she anti-LGBT? Is that true? Damn, what's with all these tankies being racist? She literally did the Global Homo and How to Spot a Color Revolution. Ah. Oh yeah, she has some sussy takes about the LGBT movement in Vietnam. Damn! Oh man, for real. Okay. Damn, we have a nationalist, anti-LGBT, ethnic supremacist Islamophobe. Damn. Well, no, I won't be debating this person. Whew. All right, are we done with this?
Talking about Marxist and his
Some people
Maoist.
said...
The Peru one was a joke, but also now it isn't. Yeah, I don't think that was accomplished at all. No, the debate wasn't fucking a disaster at all. You're crazy if you think that was a disaster. Debates have fucking one goal, okay? To cultivate a larger following.
All right, I've already heard this. And true, by the way, true. Okay, people keep talking about the Don't Walk, Run Productions thing. Hold on. Yeah, I saw this. Well, I didn't see it, but I saw that it was on. All right. Unfortunately, we're getting in the weeds now. This is, we're now doing the responding to a response type thing. Let's just see what he says, okay?
This is Vosh, a YouTuber and self-proclaimed libertarian socialist.
True.
Whatever that means. Recently...
when you say you don't know what libertarian socialism means, all it indicates that you've no fucking idea, like the very basics of political history. It's not. All right, let's just speed up. I can't do a response to a response to response. We'll see what he has to say, but I can't. If I get in the weeds, it'll turn into a whole thing. I can't go too many layers deep. Okay, it gets dangerous out there.
Featured one of my videos on his live stream, and that video was about union workers going on strike at a Frito-Lay plant in Kansas.
Ask me. The Frito-Lay strike and analysis. Somebody just pointed this out in chat. Don't Walk, Run Productions. I think I covered this guy's video once before, and I remember him being a dumb fuck, so...
So, clearly, Vosh is off to a very respectful and objective start. Whatever.
What? Oh, dude, don't pearl clutch at me. Jesus Christ.
But before we get into it, let me recap my video and the strike itself. The union claimed that many of their workers at the Frito-Lay facility worked 84-hour work weeks, working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. Frito-Lay claimed that this was an exaggeration and provided numbers saying that out of 850 employees, only 19 worked 84 hours in a given work week, with 16 of those as a result of employees volunteering for overtime. They also claimed that the total number of work weeks at 84 hours is less than 0.1% for the total of the site. Now, a couple things here. Frito-Lay provided statistics to counter the union's claims. Are they accurate? Maybe, maybe not. But
wait, what? No, so just so you guys know, the reason why I had a problem with this video, because I can't like divinely know anything, with regards to like who's being correct on the hours. The reason why I responded to his video is that when he listened to the claims of the unions, the union strikers, he was so fucking, not just disrespectful, he was like so unbelievably doubtful of everything they said, smugly retorting to every single thing they said, disbelieving, and then Frito-Lay, the company, comes out and puts out one article making a set of claims, and he just spends the entire time repping it as though it's like a divine truth. You know, he just uncritically believed what the company said, doubted everything the people who worked at the union said, and he said a bunch of other really stupid shit, didn't he? And then he showed like lists of shift listings that showed that like 1 in every 3 shifts had somebody being like done forced overtime or something. Like really weird. Like he showed documents proving that the union workers didn't have it that bad, but it actually looked like they had it pretty bad, you know? That kind of stuff. You already probably noticed this, but conservatives are mauling hard in the comments in your video on this. I'm sure. I don't check the comments of my stuff, yeah. But anyway, the main thing, if his response to what I have to say is going to be like, he believes the union workers and doesn't believe Frito-Lay, then my response would be, yeah, that was the contrary position I took because you didn't believe the union workers, but you did believe Frito-Lay. So that, yeah, my point is that you were biased. There are YouTube comments. Why are people talking about the YouTube comments? What about them? AJW, okay. Sargon of Akkad, okay. Wait, what? Andrew, they get paid not only overtime, but double time as negotiated by the union. Bosch, they stole the money because there's no union. Oh, wait, there's a union. Well, they didn't mention wage theft, but I won't edit or acknowledge that I was wrong. What? Wait, what? What is this even a reference to? This guy's still mad because, he talked to me about systemic racism once, and a clip from that got millions of views on TikTok, where I owned him, by the way. I have no idea what this is even in reference to. You didn't know the workers were unionized at first? Yeah, it didn't really have anything to do with my claim, though, right? I'm not like opposed to criticizing unions if they do a bad job representing their guys. Yeah, no, it's not relevant to the actual claims being made. Well, anyway, let's give it a look. We have to see if I get epically owned or something.
Weren't, the union could have countered Frito-Lay by providing their own numbers and evidence. They could have put out a statement saying that Frito-Lay's numbers were inaccurate, but they didn't. Also on July 1st...
What? Yeah, they were striking. That was their criticism. What? What do you mean? They had statements. You were criticizing those statements. Frito-Lay was responding to those statements. What?
But they didn't. Also on July 1st, Frito-Lay states that they proposed to the union that they would cap hours to 60 hours a week. This is what you call a solution to a problem. Regardless of how many employees were working 84 hours in a given week, the overtime cap would have ended it once and for all. But when the union went on strike, they claimed that they were fighting for an end to 84-hour work weeks, even though Frito-Lay agreed to cap work weeks at 60 hours.
Yeah, a month ago. Wait, that's not enough. Wait, hold on. I don't know if you know how like strikes and union negotiations work. But if a company sees a strike coming and they desperately try to offer a conciliatory measure in order to prevent the strike from happening, you don't accept the conciliation. You go on strike anyway if you feel your demands could be met to a greater extent. And as I understand it, the strike ended and they did get more. They got that, and there was some other stuff they got too. Right? Oh God, we're responding to it. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no, I don't mean to.
To cap work weeks at 60 hours.
Go faster.
And according to labornotes.org, the union took the 60-hour limit off the table because some union members had expressed concerns that the cap would mean higher seniority workers would end up being forced to work on their weekends after lower seniority workers reached the 60-hour limit. In other words, the union claimed that they didn't want anyone to work 84 hours in a week and didn't like the amount of forced overtime sprung on their employees. Frito-Lay said, okay. And then the union was like, never mind. So a reasonable...
That's not what happened, though. The union had a set of demands, and Frito-Lay proposed a solution to them, and it was insufficient for the union, so then they went on strike. Like, this is why I made fun of him, by the way. This is why I called him a dumb fuck, and this is why on Twitter I made fun of him. This guy makes a statement and contradicts it with the thing he shows on the screen. I'm still responding. No! Do I really have to respond to this? This guy is legit like 85 IQ at best. He was on Twitter acting like an absolute coward over this. Here, we'll skip around.
Could come to the conclusion
skip
that
around.
CBS News will type up headlines complete with the union's talking points, whether or not 84-hour work weeks are a real issue.
What do you mean, whether or not they're a real issue? Even if they happen once, they're a real issue. They don't have to happen all the time. Look, this article is even being conservative with its language. Include 84-hour work weeks.
What do you mean conservative in its language? Right there in the article, it says many of the plant's 800-plus workers toil 7 days a week and up to 12 hours a day. How is this conservative language? It's just quoting the union. And as I pointed out, if it were a...
What? It's conservative language because the line at the top, where is it? Said include 84-hour work weeks. Whereas I believe in the previous characterization, you were saying that the union workers were claiming they were often working 84-hour work weeks. See, I said it was conservative, and then I said why by explaining how the title... No, we need to stop! Everything that he says is dumb! No! Weeks.
What do you mean conservative?
Word. Is this a joke?
No, I am doubting the union because I am using logic and reason. The union said that many of our workers work 84 hours a week. Then Frito-Lay gave specific numbers.
Okay, come on,
saying
come on.
Goals. They're working overtime to buy a house or a car. Maybe they're saving up for their child's education. Maybe they're saving up for a vacation. But whatever their reasons, why is Vosh against someone volunteering to work long hours and pull in a huge amount of money? Well,
what? 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 What did I skip to? I'm not?
Here's Vosh's reasoning.
There's no guarantee they're getting that overtime pay.
What?
If they're willing to like be this ruthlessly exploitative, they're probably willing to break overtime payment laws as well. Just because something works in theory doesn't mean that it necessarily works in practice.
So without anything to back up that statement, Vosh is accusing Frito-Lay of wage theft.
Yeah, I mean, you accuse the workers of lying. The difference is I have facts and logic on my side when it comes to the frequency with which wage theft takes place. The argument that I was making is that in really bad workplace cultures, which all of the people who worked at that Frito-Lay plant seem to say there was, there's often a really bad culture of implicitly getting people to work a little bit longer, and people often get shafted along those lines. So when a person makes the claim like, this workplace is terrible, there's forced overtime, there's a horrible workplace overtime culture and stuff like that, what I usually hear there is like, there's probably some extent of like wage theft going on, because it happens all the time. Those are frequently like comorbid factors, because like the boss thinks they can get away with it, stuff like that. His clips of you were so obviously edited to say what he wanted you to. Yeah, See, this is the thing. My response to his video was about 40 minutes long. He has, what, 60 seconds of me speaking being listed here? This is one of the nice things about doing video responses, by the way. You don't actually have to argue against the real arguments. You can just, like, clip anything you want and respond. You were right, check the links. Literally Googled Frito-Lay wage theft and found this. Oh, looks like they have a habit of doing this. Oh, that's nice. 6.5 million settlement of Frito-Lay's driver wage claims gets final approval. Ooh, well, it looks like there's a habit, at least of the broader corporation, of engaging in this behavior to a pretty significant extent. Is this another one? Oh, here's another one. Frito-Lay settles overtime pay case. This is from 2013. This was 1.6 million. Oh, they're doing it multiple times. Look, without an independent investigation, I can't prove that this factory is doing it. However, the conditions at that place seem pretty bad. And with the fact that this corporation seems to have a history of doing this, and that the conditions described at that plant are comorbid with the conditions that tend to lead to you know, wage theft, it seems like I don't know, it seems like a possible extrapolation one can make.
And if it were true that the workers weren't actually being paid overtime, don't you think that they would have mentioned it? Or, I don't know, gone on strike over it? So even though I made it clear...
They did go on strike. What? Does he mean, like, go on strike over that specifically? Well, the point of wage theft is that you nickel and dime your workers, not that you withhold all overtime pay from them, because then it would get caught pretty quick. What? I don't even know what we're going on, man.
At the beginning of the unions and workers don't have the right to push for higher wages. Not a single time. But go ahead, watch my video and tell me the exact quote where I said that unions and workers shouldn't be allowed to negotiate better benefits or pay. Because again, I never...
When you came out against the strike and said the strikers were misbehaving because they didn't accept the concession that was given by Frito-Lay, like, yeah, if you're anti-strike and pretty clearly anti-union and anti-collective bargaining in general, we have to be done.
Never said that. Anyway, next in Vaush's half-baked response, I talk about how the union went on strike in the middle of negotiations, even though Frito-Lay was agreeing.
You already brought that up. Wait, how much of my arguments did he actually clip here? That was the first thing he brought up, that these workers went on strike when Frito-Lay had already offered a potential concession. That was the beginning of the video, and now we're at the end. What is this about?
Agreeing to their demands. They proposed to cap required work at 60 hours per week and eliminate...
Wait, am I entering the loop right now? We already did this. What? Wait, this was at the beginning. My brain is starting to shrink. We gotta...
The so-called squeeze shifts, which Frito-Lay proposed before the strike. The only new thing that benefits workers in the contract is that they're guaranteed at least one day off each week.
Compared to no... He's still talking about it! He's still talking about how the strike was worthless because there was already a concession made, but then the strike ended up getting them a new concession. Let me go! Guarantee for any days off. That is a pretty... That? Okay, yeah.
Wait, I'm not going to mention the thing that I just mentioned? The thing that he wouldn't even have known about had I not mentioned it? Yet he has the audacity to call me impressively stupid. Yeah, sure, Vaush.
What a pathetic little wispy-bearded, soy-faced Oh, he got super mad at that quote because on Twitter he said he wouldn't debate me because I was mean and I called him that. That's why he saved that for the end. Also, I think the own that he's trying to do here is that I didn't know the workers were in a union, which, guys, quick question. Is it relevant that the workers are in a union? What does that have to do with the claims about Frito-Lay? It's literally completely irrelevant to the claims being made. But it's like a gotcha? I don't know. Nice! I do like how the like toddler Avengers show up. The guy who swore off debating ever again after getting trashed by me. And this fucking... Is it like a genetic thing with conservatives? I don't know. Anyway, Okay, we did it. We went another layer deep. And we even skipped around, too. How long before this gets a response video? If he does a response video to this, I don't even know, man. I don't even know. I don't even know. Criticizing you is like the Sargon mating call. Yeah, one of the cringiest things they'll do is they all show up together, you know? Like, if anyone criticizes Vosh, they like all show up in the comments. Sargon's always in the comment section. And they're like, yeah, you know? Like they all get together. They're like really, really excited. Oh yeah, I see in the dude, is this seriously all they are? This is all you can do to me? A 200,000 view video and this is all you can do? They got some dislikes in the video cuz they ran in and dislike bombed it, of course. And then the top comment is hilarious, they didn't know they were in a union already. Okay. Because all the work conditions they complained about were negotiated by the union. Okay, then it was bad negotiation. It didn't have anything to do with it. And then there are multiple comments bragging about the like to dislike ratio going down. Is this what they get off over? Am I like a god to them? Like, this is like the end of 300 where Leonidas threw a spear and it got a bit of blood from his cheek. And they're like, oh my god, we did it. We hit the thumbs down on one of his videos. Yeah, I'm fucking all that for a drop of blood. Like, they gotta make a video and the fucking, like, retard Power Rangers have to show up in the comment section. And it's like, we did it! We got the dislike ratio down to 1 to 2. Alright, I'm sorry. I have autism. You all are being ableist right now. Do dislikes hurt you at all? Only my ego. Only my feeling. All right, okay, stop. Stop. I can say it, you can't. That's the rule. Stop. Am I crazy, or didn't Vosh say in the original video the union wasn't negotiating well on behalf of his workers? Yes, I directly said that multiple times, but that's what you get when you have a guy who does a response who clips out about 1/40th of the total content made against him, you know? All right, hold on. No, only me, Tron Panda TKS. But good logic, though. All right. You know, I feel really handsome in this lighting. By the way, how does my audio sound? I made some adjustments to it before fixing the lighting. Do I sound a little bit better? I noticed that before I was clipping more, and the full depth of my baritone wasn't coming through. So if I yell, does it clip? Ah! Yelling! Like that? Does that clip? A little? A little. Okay. A little, but not as much. Okay, maybe, yeah, okay, a little. Yeah. Excuse me. Okay. We're burning through time like crazy. Who wants to talk about Nina Turner? All right. You guys are going to be real mad about this, but I thought this was a reasonable possibility from the get-go. I'll admit I did think it was a coin toss leaning towards Nina Turner. But this was never like a surefire win. I hope you all know that. With all that being said, I gotta say, I am not happy. Did I say coin toss? Oh my god, I did, didn't I? Whew. The coin toss. Look, I am a little bit concerned with the language Nina Turner has taken following her defeat. Can we just listen to this for a second?
We not gonna stop.
That's good.
See, there's a debt that has to be paid. And Sister Turner not playing.
Okay.
I am going to work hard to ensure that something like this never happens to a progressive candidate or leader.
Okay.
See, we didn't lose this race. Evil money manipulated and aligned with this election. And I don't want you to relent because it took evil money. Okay. It took evil money to come in here and do this. But I swear to you, they got the right one. That as sure as there is a God in heaven, Sister Turner gonna continue working with every fiber of her being until true justice reigns.
So you might
Because
have
of the
shut up. You might have noticed a small problem. Now, I want to be clear about something before anyone criticizes me. I love Nina Turner. I do. I love Nina Turner. And I wish that she had won. Absolutely, I do. I felt that before. I feel that now. I wish she had won. She's the best candidate for the job. I am not changing on that, okay? With that being said, man, that language did not sound good. So for those of you who don't know, there was kind of a Power Rangers Super PAC vibe going on towards the end of the election season. With so Nina Turner raised more money than her opponent, far more money, significantly more money. It was like a 2-to-1 ratio. Nina Turner raised way more, and early on, months ago, Nina Turner was polling way, way, way ahead of Chantel, and the gap narrowed with time because other institutions backed Brown, like Republicans and pro-Israeli Zionist lobbies and moderate Dems and that kind of stuff, you know? And the numbers switched. Nina Turner's huge lead ended up plateauing into a 50-50, and then she lost. And I want to be clear about something, okay? Part of that is due to the fact that big money, broader corporate interests, and broader political interests have a ton of autonomy when it comes to controlling smaller races, like in Ohio's 11. That is true. Nina Turner raised more money because she had I would say, a more authentic base of support. And I believe that. With that being said, this really isn't a matter of, like, money as a concept defeating her, because she raised more money than her opponent. So while I'll agree that the way she got her money was more legitimate and more reasonable than the way her opponent got money, that doesn't really change the fact that the money itself here isn't, like, some people are saying, like, big money ruins politics again, but she did outspend her opponent, so you could make an argument she didn't spend it very effectively, and there's always going to be some legitimacy to that truth. When it came to the ads that were running to attack her, she also kind of made it easy for people, didn't she? Wasn't a big criticism levied her way comments she's made about Biden and her unwillingness to own up to who she voted for in 2016? I'm pretty sure she voted Green in 2016. You know? She voted Green in 2016, and she wouldn't say it. And there are a lot of Democrat voters who aren't going to like that. And also, back in 2020, she said that voting for Joe Biden was like voting to eat half a bowl of shit. That Trump was a full bowl of shit, and Biden was half a bull of shit. Now, what a lot of people on the left fail to realize is that Democrats like Biden. I'm not saying you have to, because I don't. But a lot of Democrats like Biden. And I think, unfortunately, for all of you, and fortunately for me, this is just a testament to the fact that I'm always right. Because I said this just a few days ago. Bernie Sanders got where he did because he was willing to be civil with the Democratic establishment. It sucks, but it did pay dividends. And the fact that Nina Turner wasn't civil ended up killing her chances at being a fucking congresswoman. Sorry. Yeah. Because that shit will get run on repeat forever and ever when it comes to attack ads against you in solid blue districts, which is where that was. I'm not saying you have to like Biden. Again, I don't. I'm just saying that, yeah, there are consequences to saying stuff like that about Biden when you have aspirations of being a Democratic congresswoman. And what's more, this language is not good, guys. This language is really, really bad. This sounds Trumpist. It does. There's no getting around the fact that it does. It sounds like sore loser conspiracism. It does. We did not lose this. Evil money took it from us. I mean, I don't think this is anti-Semitic or anything. I'm not making that claim. I know some have. I'm not a believer in that. But it really is rhetorically comparable to the type of behavior that Trump and his followers have gotten up on. Yeah, as the kids say, it's a bad look, you know. It just kind of makes her look like a sore loser. Nah, this was anti-Semitic as fuck, my guy. Well, lefties think money in general is evil. I sincerely doubt that if the pro-Israeli lobby had not donated, but it had just been other Republicans and establishment Dems, she wouldn't have still called it evil money. I don't think it was anti-Semitic. Maybe other lefties have been anti-Semitic about it. I'd be willing to believe that. A lot of you motherfuckers descend back into some pretty echo sign language the moment Zionist groups get angry with you, you know, and that's not good. But I don't think Nina Turner was being anti-Semitic here. Anyway, it's just, I don't know. It's disappointing altogether. I would have liked it if she had won, you know? I wish she had won. Yeah. And a final reminder. She was the candidate for the job. I believed in her, and I'll vote for her if she's ever up in a national election or if for some reason she runs in my district. As long as she keeps being the kind of woman she is now, which is a passionate advocate for progressive politics. But I can still criticize stuff she does. The voter turnout was also abysmal. Yeah, it's because it was an off-season election. The voter turnout was like 11%. Jesus, you know? Did you see this thread saying you were gaslighting with the Bernie comments? What? Vosh's take on the media coverage of Bernie is incredibly stupid and comes close to gaslighting. Oh yeah, didn't I cover this on stream? This guy was just wrong. I'm sorry, some people legitimately want to believe that, like, everyone hated Bernie so much that there's no way he could have been treated worse by the media, which is so provably incorrect. Yeah. What is this? Somebody said I've been criticized for anti-Semitism and linked a 44-minute Rose wrist video. Can anyone testify as to the relevance of this video? This is from July 9th, a month ago. So, Rose wrist video. Does Rose wrist even have a good relationship with me anymore? I forget. It's not that big of a deal. Maybe worth a watch later. Being accused of anti-Semitism is a big deal. Isn't Rose wrist a friend of the show? That sounds weird. Yeah, I don't know. The problem is, you know how in The Sims, your friendship meter with people decreases if you haven't seen them in like a week? You know? That's what my life is like. The overarching hatred of me is so strong that if I don't like constantly keep an eye on people, I feel like they move away from me. He really likes Destiny. That's always a bad sign. What's this? Maybe, but let's do it after stream's done so we can like choose together. All right, hold on. What are you linking? Go over this article of firing an AR-15 for the first time. It's been trending on Twitter all day. What are you showing me? What is this? Why do you keep linking this? Shots fired. A reporter visits Vermont's first indoor gun range. Wait. The entire state of Vermont's first indoor gun range? The entire state didn't have an indoor gun range before this. Or does it just mean it's the first one? It was built in 1923 or something? What? I'm not a gun guy. I haven't handled a firearm since I squeezed off a few rounds for an old .22 rifle at summer camp more than 35 years ago. Nor have I felt the impulse to own a gun for personal protection, whether due to privilege or delusion or both. I've also figured, rightly or wrongly, that owning a gun, statistically speaking, would tend to make my family's home less safe, not more. So when Henry Parro opened the state's first indoor range in Waterbury in late June, I didn't pay it much mind. No, really? The first indoor shooting range in the entirety of the state? Huh. I don't know. Just Vermont has a huge hunting culture, not an indoor thing. I get that, but like, it's just an indoor shooting range. It's a tiny state. No, I know what Vermont looks like. Wouldn't they have needed to have indoor shooting range for police? Don't police normally have indoor shooting ranges in-house, or they build them in major cities so that they can go to and they get like a discount? I don't know. Never mind. Shut up. Okay. Then one novel feature caught my attention. Firearms for rent. I've rented cars and skis and stand-up paddleboards, even a snowmobile once, but I've never heard of a place where you could just walk in, plunk down a credit card, and minutes later be firing an assault rifle. Is this really new? Like, there are tons of places like this in LA. Whatever. That is exactly, however, what I found myself doing one morning last week. If Parro's grand business plans hit the mark, gun enthusiasts from around the region will soon be descending on Waterbury as well. His new multi-million-dollar, 20,000-square-foot building resembles an elaborately refurbished dairy barn or tourist welcome center. Its cupolas, red wood siding, and reclaimed barn timbers says traditional Vermont, while the sliding glass door to the entrance lends a modern feel. We've designed this to be a destination, Parro said from a balcony high above the shop's expansive retail floor. We're going to be drawing people from all over the Northeast. We already are. A wedding party from Brooklyn recently swung by on a lark to use the range, while a group of law enforcement officers from around the Northeast attended a training session put on by a major gun manufacturer. Most of those I met, however, were locals, including Barbara Walton of Waterbury, who toured the store with her 16-year-old grandson as she looked to sign him up for shooting classes. I want a small gun for myself, too, she said. Cringe. Always buy a big gun. Now you know. Parro, a former member of the Vermont National Guard and ex-police officer in southern Burlington, Waterbury, has run a gun shop catering to sporting enthusiasts and law enforcement officers on Route 2 in Waterbury for nearly 40 years. Why am I reading this again? He first learned about gun safety as a kid hunting with his father back when the frigid first day of deer season was like a state holiday, he said. As interest in hunting has waned, more people have moved to Vermont from other states, Pero has found that his customers are looking not just to buy guns, but also for a convenient place to use them safely and effectively. I couldn't tell them there were no indoor ranges in Vermont, and they just, I'd tell them that, and they just couldn't believe it. Yeah, me too, buddy. Seriously. Skip to his reaction of him actually firing an AR-15. Oh no. A pink .22 caliber rifle made just for kids selling for $169 caught my eye. If it's pink, wouldn't it be for girls? Aren't pink guns normally for whatever? In a nearby case, a Derringer-style pistol, tiny enough to fit in a purse coat, was just $159. Beside it, a Ruger 338 Lapua, effectively a civilian version of a long-ranged military sniper rifle. Yours for just $2,000. Other specialty rifles would double that. Some days Morin sells just a couple of guns, other days 7 or 8. Last year's sharp rise in gun sales nationally seemed to be a reaction to the riots that convulsed the nation following the murder of George Floyd, he said. The world kind of went crazy there for a little bit. All those new gun owners just reinforce Pero's contention that the time is right for a firearms business that combines retail, rentals, and a safety-focused indoor shooting range. To experience the offerings of this temple to the Second Amendment, I paid for a lane for an hour, $18. I rented a Ruger 9mm pistol and a high-powered semi-automatic AR-15 style rifle made by a company called Heckler & Co., $35 each. Pero and his staff reject the term assault rifle as inflammatory and imprecise, and in all cases prefer the term firearm to weapon. Well, yeah, assault rifle doesn't really... isn't really a specific designation of any type of firearm. I also picked up 100 rounds of ammo, $25 for 50 pistol rounds and $59 for 50 rifle rounds, and chose the standard 6 bullseye target, $199, over the zombie or the gun-wielding bad guy daring me to shoot him in his various highlighted organs. After I reviewed 3 pages of range rules, watched a 10-minute safety video. Wait, what? I have never had to watch a safety video before going to a gun range, but took a short quiz and donned eye and ear protection. Range safety officer Josh Noble led me through 2 steps of bulletproof doors. Inside one of the 10 available lanes, I stapled my target to the carrier, then tapped a touchscreen that could send the target sliding out to 25 yards. I started with 5 yards, probably better than 25 yards for a newcomer. Noble showed me how to load the 9mm bullets into the magazine, shoved the magazine into the grip, slide the surprisingly stiff bolt back, release the safety, and prepare to fire. I lined up the sights as best as I could, gently squeezed the trigger, and bam! I missed. A tiny hole appeared wide of the target. Even from that short distance, I found it surprisingly challenging to keep the sight centered on the bullseye. Round after round, magazine after magazine, however, I slowly improved my accuracy. Once, having lost count of how many bullets were in the magazine, I put the pistol down with a live round in the chamber. Noble quickly spotted my error and cleared the chamber. The unfired bullet dropped to the floor where it fell into a graded collection channel. That's exactly how many firearm accidents happen, Noble said, when even experienced shooters don't make sure the chamber is empty when cleaning or reholstering their pistols. While the pistol was manageable, even comfortable to hold and fire, the rifle was a different beast altogether. Everything about it, its weight, tactical scope, and overall lethality was downright intimidating. The fact that the first magazine refused to click into place didn't help either, further unnerving me. What if I just broke a $3,500 rifle? A fresh magazine worked just fine, though, and after loading it, I sent the target out to 15 yards. Does anyone else feel like there's always an inherent jankiness to firearms? Because I've rented and fired like dozens of firearms in my life, and I feel like it's always a little bit one of those jiggle it a little bit. It's always like kind of orcish, you know what I mean? Like, oh, it didn't, you know, like not like, you know, fucking that kind of thing. When ready, I lined up the target in the crosshairs, pulled the stock to my shoulder, squeezed the trigger, and boom! It is difficult to describe the impact, physical and personal, of that first shot. Jesus Christ. It felt like a meteor had struck the earth in front of me. A deep shockwave coursed through my body, and recoil rippled through my arms and right shoulder with astounding power. Ropes of cum blasted the interior of my briefs as I... What is this? Being that close to an explosion of such magnitude, controlled and focused as it was, rattled me. I composed myself and continued to fire round after concussive round, the puffs of acrid gunpowder smoke carrying downrange by a powerful ventilation system. My accuracy gradually improved until it became easier to hit the target with the rifle from 25 yards than with the pistol from 5. Yeah. You know why? Because rifles with scopes are cheating. Cheating. It's true. They're cheating. You even got like a scope. Cheating. True. So why did I read all this? Who gave this to me? Because it's trending? Trending where? What? How? What about this is trend-worthy? It's a slightly evocatively described article about a guy's first experience firing weapons. What is... I'm looking at trending right now. I don't see... I fucking hate you guys. Hate you guys so much. All right, YouTube it is. Let's listen to a conservative, huh? My favorite part of any stream, actually.
Why do you have to talk about God all the time? You know, I can be a good person.
Stop! Somebody emailed me a video. Conservative reacts to Bo Burnham's Inside. This is a guy on the Daily Wire network. There's no way this isn't funny. And if it's not, well, watching my stream and my videos are free, so I don't really feel guilty.
One of the things people say to me a lot, one of the complaints I get about this show is that I talk about God so much. Stop harping on God. Why do you have to talk about...
Oh, by the way, fun fact. This is actually the guy who did the voice acting work for Omni-Man in Invincible.
God all the time. You know, I can be a good person and I can be a good conservative without God. Nothing's so great. I totally get it. And yes, you can be a good person, a wonderful person, and there are many awful people who believe in God, many good people.
Sorry, he just reminds me a little bit of J.K. Simmons. Doesn't he look a little bit like a little bit? A little bit? A little bit? Maybe I'm just racist against white people. White, bald guys.
People who don't believe in God, many good conservatives who don't believe in God, and many people who are not very good conservatives who do. My only point about this is your philosophy doesn't make sense. If you're a good person who doesn't believe in God, your philosophy doesn't make sense. And the problem with having a philosophy that doesn't make sense...
Wait. If you're a good person and you don't believe in God, your philosophy doesn't make sense. Wait, what's their philosophy? Does not believing in God mean that you're morally compelled to do wrong? What does that mean?
Sense is that under pressure it collapses, and that's some of the stuff we're seeing in our culture today. Is people who can't defend their positions because they don't know why they hold them. One of the things about God...
Reminder, by the way, that in spite of conservatives and Christians who say this, there is absolutely no evidence, zero, that Christians are more moral people. Literally none. Nil. And there are plenty of metrics by which you can make the opposite argument. Like racism, for example, positively correlates with Christian fundamentalism. You know? Like there are quite a few things, quite a few behavioral types that lean in that direction. That this guy probably thinks racism is based in red-pilled. I don't know. Maybe he does.
God is that there is no objective good, moral good without God. And and we do believe, no matter how we talk ourselves out of it when we're in philosophy class in school or on CNN, we believe in an objective good, and you have to look at it from the negative.
I take issue with this, by the way.
Point of view, you have to think, can it ever be good to torture a child for your own personal enjoyment? Is there any series of systems, series of circumstances where to torture a child for your own personal enjoyment can be a good thing and not an evil thing? If every single human being on Earth, except presumably the child, thought it was a good thing, still the child would be in the right, and every single other person would be in the wrong.
What the fuck is he... When conservatives go off like this, the only thing I'm hearing them say is that if they didn't believe in God, if they didn't believe that they would go to hell for it, they'd be raping children. That's the only thing that I hear when they say this. When they're like, dude, how can you be moral without God? For me, it's only the threat of eternal damnation that keeps me from doing evil shit. Like what? Like, why are you self-reporting, okay? The whole world manages to get on with its day without believing in God. Well, the whole world of atheists, I guess, so.
morality is not actually relative. It's simply that we
What does this have to do with
approach it
inside?
completely. We approach it by half measures. And in order for there to be something good, it has to be closer to an ultimate.
Vosh, don't mischaracterize the argument. That is literally the argument. He's literally making the argument that it is only the divine judgment of God which assigns people a perspective with regards to objective morality or of any moral position. That is literally the argument that he is making. The divine judgment argument, or the what is it? The divine command theory, that the only reason he has a moral compass is because a big guy in the sky is telling him to, you know?
Ultimate good, right? There has to be a direction leading to good and a direction leading away from good, and that ultimate good just can't be a thing. It's not a big statue saying, I am the good. It has to be a consciousness, because good is a conscious choice. It has to be a living consciousness that can choose, that is free to choose, because good is always something free, is always the free conscious choice. A tornado may destroy a million things, but it's not evil. So good is always a conscious choice. And that's why I think if you believe that there is such a thing as objective good, you believe in God whether you know it or not. And
Okay. He has a sussy old video called Why Do Blacks Vote for Conservatives? Wait, it actually says that? Why do blacks, not black people? Okay. I just want to see. Oh,
this
hello.
is Andrew Clavin on The Culture. There are many mysteries that trouble the human mind.
Oh, man, this is quite the sussy start to this topic, isn't it? Oh, God.
How did the universe come into being? Why is there evil? What the hell are women always complaining about? But of all these conundrums, the most baffling enigma is surely this. Why do black people vote for Democrats? Today,
Oh, okay, wait. He said black people in the video, even if he said blacks in the title.
the terrifying answer. The Democrat Party has always been the party of racism. Fortunately, in 1850, men of conscience opposed to slavery formed a new party, the Republicans. The Republicans chose as their leader Abraham Lincoln, who had risen to fame after inventing the $5 bill. Lincoln wrote powerful speeches denouncing slavery.
How satirical is this? Wait, that was good. Wait, how much of this am I supposed to take seriously? This is a shitpost.
Which he posted on the walls of the Greek temple in which he lived, for some reason. Until his
No,
leadership...
wait, this is fun. Wait, this would be fun. Is this conservative humor? Is this good conservative humor? Did we find some?
...in the Civil War brought the unholy institution to an end. After the war, Democrats throughout the South passed so-called
That's
Jim
kind of
Crow
funny,
laws,
though.
which effectively stripped
It's Biden. This is Biden back in college.
blacks of the freedoms won for them by their Republican allies. And yet, bizarrely, in 1912, many African Americans deserted the Republicans to help elect Democrat President Woodrow Wilson, a virulent racist who allowed the Jim Crow laws to spread to the federal government.
Wait, did Woodrow Wilson have a significant black voting base? What is that? How would I even find that out? How votes for Woodrow Wilson by race? Would they have even? How would I even find that out? Okay, here we go. Here's some info on the 1912 election. Oh, wait. For the first time, many African-American leaders and newspapers turned against the Republican Party and looked for other alternatives. Wait, how many black people voted for Woodrow Wilson, though? It doesn't say the race of the... Hold on. 1912 election by race. No, 1912, not 19. But could they vote? They could legally vote. Here we go. The 1912 U.S. presidential election. Okay, hold on. General election. Attempted assassination. Electoral results. Can we get by race, maybe? Is that... Thank you. Results by county. Show me! Huh. Okay, I don't care. What are we doing?
By the middle of the 20th century, Democrat segregationists like George Wallace, Orville Phobos, and Bull Connor were defending the Jim Crow laws against the growing civil rights movement.
I don't know what we're doing. Just get focus.
And if knowing it gives you more power because you can make the arguments you have to make when the pressure is on. Without God, you know.
Oh, I actually didn't know this. Woodrow Wilson's most active and prominent supporter from the black community during the 1912 was scholar and activist W.E.B. Du Bois, who campaigned enthusiastically on Wilson's behalf. Du Bois endorsed Wilson as a liberal Southerner who would deal fairly with black people, and whose economic plans would benefit all Americans. Damn. Yeah, your boy Du Bois misread that one a little bit. It's Du Bois, not Du Bois. Is it? Doesn't it go either way? Du Bois? Du Bois. Du Bois. Ya boy Du Bois messed that one up a little bit.
Man is in relationship with nothing but himself. There's nothing to choose. He has nothing to choose. His desires are sovereign. He's just a piece of clay, you know, so it's whatever the clay wants, that's the object of the exercise. And that's kind of the underlying assumption of the left. Leftism is a materialist philosophy. We believe that we are in relationship with something. And the reason our culture is stagnant
Why are we
right
talking
now,
about
terribly,
God?
terribly stagnant, because we've already done all the bad guy stories we can tell. We've told The Sopranos. We've told Breaking Bad. We've got all the bad guys that we can possibly do, and that's kind of interesting in the world, but we no longer know what the good is because.
What? We've stagnated culturally because we don't know what good is because we keep telling stories about bad guys? What?
Because we no longer know who God is. And the thing about having no belief.
After you've watched 5 seasons of Breaking Bad, you are just completely cut off from the Holy Spirit, okay?
In God is that you only can tell one story. You can only tell the story of how absurd everything is. And that story can be told well. Waiting for Godot is a wonderful play about that story, but it's still the same story every single time. The diversity of storytelling comes from individuals, unique individuals, striving toward this good that they see in themselves, but they either can't reach or can start to reach. And that's what makes stories stories. And that's why
Is this guy on crack? What the fuck are we talking about right now? All stories that aren't about a guy trying to become good are the same story, and all stories of trying to become good are God. What? This is so incoherent that it is legitimately impossible to debunk. He's not even wrong. There's nothing to even say. This is actual crazy, and I don't know what else to say about it. I think what he's trying to say, didn't you recently learn not to assume drugs but health conditions? Oh, you're right. Okay, he's not on crack. He's cripplingly mentally ill. Sorry. Is that better? Okay, there. I think the only like meaning that I can interpret from what he's saying is that the only story man can tell in the absence of God is a story which comments on the absurdity of life, and the only story that a man can tell when he believes in God is a guy trying to get closer to God but failing, and that those are the only 2 stories. Okay.
There's a million stories, a million endless stories to tell, because there are a million kinds of people, endless, infinite numbers of people. But if all those people are just pieces of clay, the only story you can tell about them is how absurd there is. So
I think what he's saying is that Breaking Bad is a bad story. So that's something.
Watching the show, Bo Burnham's Inside on Netflix, and it's very popular. And Bo Burnham is a very, very talented comedy writer and satirist, really talented. And the show is very entertaining. He was a comedian. Burnham was a comedian who
Hey, this guy's seen Inside before me. I still haven't seen it. Whatever he shows here will be like the most I've seen of Inside. This is me getting it piecemeal.
Has so many anxiety attacks, he couldn't perform anymore. So he stopped performing, went away for 5 years, and at the end of 5 years, he thought, you know, I think I'm saner than I was. I think I've kind of come around to being stronger mentally than I was. I'll go back into performing. And then the pandemic hit, and he was forced to stay in his room for a year. And so he wrote over the course of a year, alone inside this room. He did this really quite creative performance of his songs and his comedy called Inside, because
I just want to say about doesn't it kind of take apart this guy's message a little bit, that he's saying this is like a good piece of art when Bo Burnham, it's not about God? Like, isn't Bo Burnham very explicitly about the absurdism of the universe, at least to some extent? But now he's saying that this story is good, even though this is definitely not some aspirational story of a man trying to get closer to God. Yeah, Bo Burnham seems very much to me an atheist.
he's spending the year inside. And he's really talented, and it's an impressive and entertaining show, especially the satirical parts of it. And I'm going to criticize the show. He's very woke and he's very left-wing in his politics, but so what? That's his politics. You can make a good show with that. But still,
he doesn't believe in God. The whole previous 4 minutes of this thing were you saying that storytelling is predicated on man's relationship to God, and now you're going to tell me you like this piece of media. Okay, well, maybe he thinks there are two stories you can make if you don't believe in God. The absurdism of the universe, but then also Bo Burnham's Inside.
About the show that is that one story that we hear over and over again. Now, the satire is excellent. He has a song which is the masterpiece of the show called Welcome to the Internet. The whole show is, of course, he's living online because he's stuck inside, and here is his depiction of the Internet.
Hey, no copyright. Wait, how much did he get away with?
Now, that's a great line. Can I interest you in everything all of the time? Because everything all of the time is nothing. And without God, without a moral framework, and you cannot have a moral framework without God. I know you think, some of you think you can, but you can't. Believe me. Without a moral framework, there's no distinction. There's no distinction between a quirky Power Rangers quiz and instructions on how to make a bomb.
Without God, you actually cannot tell the difference between which Power Ranger are you and how to construct a pipe bomb. They are actually indistinguishable. It's a physiological thing. Your brain can't. It's like you. If you don't believe in God, those two documents are to you what faces are to face blind people. You just mix them up. You know.
It's all about what take your choice. Take your choice. It's you're interested in everything all of the time. It really is good. That's really good satire and really funny. And his music is not the most original. It's a little bit repetitive, but still the writing is good, it's strong. And I just found it interesting. He did another song. The other really good song is called...
Wait, is that the only commentary he has on that? The only thing he has to say was funny. And by the way, if you don't believe in God, there's no difference between BuzzFeed quizzes and bomb making instructions. That was like his... That was what he had to say about that, you know?
The White Woman's Instagram, where he describes all the beautiful things that are on a white woman's Instagram page. Here's a little bit of that.
I've seen this. Hyena showed me this. All right. No DMCA. How does he get away with this much? Am I gonna get away with this much?
That's really good stuff. Very observant, you know. And again, but the thing about satire, and I do satire on the show. I open the show with satire. I just
need to guess. Okay, if you're a white woman who doesn't believe in God, there really is no difference between any of these things.
It's essentially negative. In satire, you are making fun of a system that isn't working or a person who's doing something stupid. It's like critical theory, right? It's like critical theory. You can always criticize, but underneath that criticism, there is a positive assumption that you have something better to offer. And if you don't start to offer that system, that something better, then really your satire is kind of complaining. It's complaining. If you have nothing better to offer, you're
hold on. I actually do agree with this. I think that if you're satirizing something, your satire should sort of imply the existence of a preferable alternative. So where is he going to go with this? Is he saying that Bo Burnham has failed to offer an alternative to white women on Instagram? Because I've got one, okay? Latinx NBs on TikTok. Yeah. Yeah, that's the next thing.
Satire is just complaining. It's just kvetching. And
I said Latinx, ironically.
And the problem with this show Inside, is that the satire is excellent. Every time he describes the internet, it's just terrific. But once he starts to get into his own self-reflection, it becomes the same old thing. So he does one thing where he talks about the fact that he does a song, and then he comments on the song, and then he comments on himself commenting on the song, and it just becomes this infinite regress, a house of mirrors. Here's a little bit of that.
Huh?
It's pretty unlikable that I feel this desperate need to be seen as intelligent, and the video's ending here.
Hey everybody,
it's fine to cut right on. Look, I'm very confused. See, I'm very confused because I'm staring at myself. I don't know what I'm looking at, and I'm starting to catch up now. I'm realizing what's going on, and
I think he's making fun of me.
yeah, now I'm deciding to react to the reaction.
Without God, you're in a dialogue with yourself all the time.
That's not... Okay, there are several basic failures of analysis taking place here, okay? First of all, what you're watching is a criticism of, or at the very least, satire on modern commentary culture, which you do, and are doing in the video that I'm reacting to by doing it myself. So this isn't like some toothless complaint. This is a pointed commentary on your job, in part. This has nothing to do with God.
Constantly in a dialogue with yourself, constantly in that infinite regress, hall of mirrors. And, you know, one of the things about this show that really moved me is he reminded me, he's about 30, he reminded me of myself at that age when I was suicidal. And I think that I worry about the kid, I actually do. You can't be in a dialogue without God, you can't be in a dialogue.
Kind of a backhanded bit of sympathy here.
With anything but yourself. You can't ever know what reality is. You can't ever say, oh, yes, I will now stop. Everything is analysis. Everything is breaking things down. And like criticism, like critical theory.
This is the thing that I had with Charlie, too. It seems like a lot of conservatives have like a moral aversion to the concept of criticism. Like they want everyone. Remember when Charlie Kirk said that schools should be for making people grateful? That was fucking weird. That's like a very odd thing to believe, you know, but we're kind of seeing it here too. It's a very strong moral inflexibility. Basically, like you're unwilling to acknowledge nuance. You don't want there to be discourse. You just want some kind of absolute totalitarian right and wrong that everyone agrees with and stays in lockstep all the time. It's a very authoritarian way of thinking. And it's not surprising to me that this guy would like adhere to it as well. Criticism is a good thing, you know?
Everything can always be broken down into smaller and smaller parts. You know, intelligent people, intellectual people have the same reaction to their intellects that a lot of guys have to their penis. Basically, it is a source of self-esteem and pleasure to them, so they begin to think it's a lot more important than it is, okay? Your intellect is a wonderful thing, and hopefully your penis is a wonderful thing.
Did this guy just want to talk about dicks? This guy just want to talk a little bit about peepees. Yeah, he did. You can see this about anything. Guys who like boats are like guys who like penises. They like them a lot, and they think too much of them. guys who like cooking stromboli, they think of stromboli a little bit like a penis. They like it too much. They think too much of it. What?
But it is not the center of the universe. There is a wholeness to be had when you let...
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Hey, speaking of God and the inherent moral purity of people who believe in it and preach his divine word, Kent Hovind, the guy who I almost debated but didn't, one of the founding architects of the push for creationism in schools, has been arrested in a domestic assault case. He was arrested before for tax fraud, and now he's been arrested in a domestic assault case. An arrest warrant alleges that he intentionally threw his estranged wife to the ground, causing bodily harm. Damn. Well.
Analysis go. When you stop analyzing things and when you start to experience them as a whole human being because you are in contact with the image of yourself, which is on the big screen, which is God, the creation of yourself and the purpose that you were created for. You know, this idea that when you have nothing, when you're not in dialogue with anything, that other people start to define you. Not only are you in this infinite regress, that you are defined by what other people think of you. And
man, I'm not even like that versed on the theory behind Gnosticism. This is really bad Christian theory. Are there any Christian people in chat right now? Can you attest to the fact that this is a very illogical and inarticulate defense of Christian principles? You know? Yeah, or any ex-Christians maybe. Yeah, Vermin. It's like, it's pretty incoherent.
He makes this point, Bo Burnham makes this point inside that he's living for the laughter of others, for the reactions that he gets.
Because he doesn't have
from
God.
Others, because they kind of define him. They give him life, and he has no, he worries, oh, am I making the world a better place with my comedy? But it doesn't really matter because, as he says, I want all eyes on me. So he's constantly criticizing himself, but he has nothing else to offer. You know, there was a story in the New York Times, New York Times is a former newspaper, and there was a story in it about people who don't
Wait, former news? I'm pretty sure the New York Times still exists.
Want the pandemic to end because they don't want to go out again. And there was one guy in it who was he's a black gay guy, and he is married to a white gay.
Oh, he meant like formerly a newspaper, like now it's like propaganda or something. I don't know.
Gay guy, and he doesn't want to go out again. And here he explains why.
My husband is white, and we often have conversations with folks that we meet on the street, and I become invisible. I go into a market, and I'm either ignored totally or followed and watched. That's a microaggression.
It's a grown man. It's a grown man worrying about a microaggression.
Hold on, really quickly. What the fuck does this have to do with anything we were talking about? Well, I'm sorry, just before I talk about the actual content of this, what does this have to do with anything? This is completely random. Has he forgotten? Is this like a case of senility? He was in the middle of talking about Inside, and then he just saw like a funny prompt on his computer and had to bring it up. Yeah, was there like a quota on like making fun of black people that needed to be met because Bo Burnham's white and I'm really confused about the structure of this particular video. Now, with that being said, I find it ironic that this guy is complaining about the black guy complaining about the concept of microaggressions when white Christian men are legitimately the most fragile human beings on earth. There is no group of people, none in existence, more dedicated, more committed to bitching about everything. He's Jewish, just to clarify. Oh, is that true? Wait, is that true? So by God this whole time, huh? So what would it be then? Kvetching? Ha!
You know, it's like there are people.
No, he was raised Jewish and converted. What's this guy's name? Andrew Clavin. He just, I've knew a lot of Jewish people. I've never heard any of them talk about religion the way that he does. Hold on. He was born to a secular Jewish family, converted to Christianity. Yeah. Yeah, who said that? He was born to a secular Jewish family. He was converted to Christianity. That's the reason why he said that he used to be suicidal back when he was 30, because it was before he converted. Christians love to talk about how bad their life was before they converted. They love that shit. They love it so much.
In this world, seriously, there are people in this world hoping that they don't get macheted by a raving racist mob tomorrow, and he's worried that when he goes to the supermarket, people talk.
Who is worried about getting macheted by a racist? What are you talking about? What? And also, what is this? You complained about this thing, but another group of people complained about another thing? What segment are we on? What tangent?
To his husband, you know, because he has nothing with which to define himself but other people, and Burnham has this stuff too. And it's interesting to me that, for instance, Bo Burnham never questions whether he should be locked inside, whether he should maybe go out and defy the lockdown orders. He never questions global warming. He never questions systemic racism. He never questions anything.
What the fuck is he talking about?
Except his own purpose for being, because that's the thing he can't understand. So all of his self-reflection, while all of his satire is excellent, his music is excellent, his self-reflection is adolescent and second-rate.
Your self-reflection is non-existent. Your answer to the fundamental questions of life is, lol, the Bible was written by God. Christians who engage in your level of religious analysis have a toddler's level of self-awareness. All the questions that other normal, healthy humans might have about their life, to you have been answered by the toddler's red-painted wooden blocks that you cram into whatever shaped hole you have in your brain.
He has one thing about suicide, and he's written a song about suicide. Why don't you just kill yourself, basically? And when he says he starts the second half of the show...
Fun fact, that was actually specifically written in reference to this guy.
By saying, don't kill yourself, and this is what he says.
And if you're out there and you're struggling with, you know, suicidal thoughts and you want to kill yourself, I just want to tell you, don't. Okay? Can you not, please? Just don't, all right? Quit it with the... But really, don't kill yourself. You don't want to, because... there are people that love you. That's not true necessarily, but there could be people that love you in the future, and just don't. I've had people close to me kill themselves, and
get ready for, by the way, get ready for the commentators. 10,000 IQ response. How about don't kill yourself because it's a sin, dumbass? Don't kill yourself because you'll go to hell. Man, these atheists, they don't got anything figured out.
And I'll be honest with you,
you're ready.
Didn't love it. Didn't love that. So just don't.
He can't even come up with a reason to live, and he's showing his picture of himself on a T-shirt worn by himself, looking incredibly bored and depressed by this.
That's the point. Wait, is this guy legit? Is this ableism? That's literally the point. This is directly the. I haven't even seen this show, and he's listening to himself say this, and he's clearly not convinced by himself saying it. And the point is that the reason that you have to not kill yourself has to be more substantive than the thin, insubstantial advice you often get from people who are well-meaning but utterly incapable of. That's the point.
monologue. You know, it obviously reminds you of Hamlet asking himself to be or not to be, and Hamlet's only reason
No!
to live is because he fears that something after death might be worse.
No, that's your point! That's you! That's why Christians don't kill themselves, except they do, as much as anyone else. That's why Christians say they won't kill themselves, because it's a sin. That's it. That's your point.
And what he's in, and that's why he doesn't kill himself. But the whole point about Hamlet, is he's one character in this panoply of characters that Shakespeare has created, each one of them in a different relationship with the moral universe. Hamlet in the Bo Burnham relationship. That's, as Shakespeare knew, without God, that's the only story. Hamlet is the only story you can tell, and you have to tell it over and over and over again. And that was my problem.
What? Literally, what the fuck is this? Literally, what is the, I can't, I actually don't have, how do you criticize this, you know? I feel like in order, I need to make sense of what he's saying to respond to it, but I'm not capable of it. How is what Bo Burnham said like Hamlet? Hamlet wanted to die, and the only reason he didn't was because he was afraid of the afterlife. Because Hamlet was a Christian, and Christians knew it was a sin to kill themselves. What does that have to do? That's your perspective, dude.
Problem with Inside. I enjoyed it. I think it's worth watching. I recommend it. The guy is tremendously talented, and his satire is really, really...
I need to know what the comments are. I'm sorry. This is like, he thinks referencing Hamlet makes him sound smart. Yeah, probably. This is really bad. Oh. Okay, it looks like the comments are mostly calling him out in it. Probably because, yeah, probably because he made the mistake of putting Inside in his title, which got people interested in Bo Burnham to find this video, and they came in and they watched it and they were not impressed. The thing that really befuddles me the most is his random tangent on that gay black guy. Like, it had nothing to do with anything. Do all of his videos have, like, the 10-minute break where they talk about, like, a black guy with a microaggression? I just have to wonder, because it was so weird. These are fairly low view counts. So he does the full show? Oh, we've seen this intro, haven't we?
The American Biden Summit.
Wait,
which,
I want to see the intro.
Chinese.
Wait, the intro.
I feel hunky-dunky, life is tickety-boo. Birds are winging, also singing hunky-dunky-doo. Ship-shaped, ipsy-topsy, the world is zippity-zing. It's a wonderful day, hurrah, hooray! It makes me want to sing. Oh, hurrah, hooray! Oh, hooray, hurrah!
All right, we are back.
Did God make that? I wonder if... Do you think it's a little bit jarring that you have this deeply religious guy, but his intro looks like it's out of a 2001 South Park episode? You know what I mean? Like, isn't that a little odd? It just feels like there's a little bit of a tonal dissonance from this guy who thinks he's some kind of philosopher theist. But, like, he's being preceded by this. I don't know. Wow, dude, the Muslim is a knife. GG safe price. Yeah, you think this guy isn't Islamophobic? Yeah. Yeah, it does look like a Newgrounds meme. It looks like a Newgrounds meme that was made in, like, 2 days by a 14-year-old. Yeah. Just... That's what you can make. If you... That is the only video intro that you can produce if you believe in God. That is the limit right there. That is the only thing that you can produce if you believe in God. I'm sorry if there are any religious aspiring artists who are watching this and they're dismayed by that information, but it is true, and I'm sorry. Wait, this guy is a Calvinist? Wait, is this guy actually a Calvinist? Wait, wait, that can't be true. Is this guy actually a Calvinist? Is he that far gone? Hold on, I need to know this. Let me see. Personal life. He was baptized into the Episcopal Church, but is no longer a part of it. But is no longer a member. So what does he call himself now? There are a lot of Calvinists in the Midwest. Yeah, and they're fucking crazy. Episcopal. Episcopal. I don't see anything about him being Calvinist. Whatever. What's a Calvinist? I don't remember all my religious stuff, but if I remember correctly, Calvinists are fucking crazy. It's a branch of Protestantism, and basically, like, don't they believe that there's no such thing as free will? Everyone who's going to heaven and hell, it's already been determined. And if you're going to heaven, like, it's already happening. If you're going to hell, it's already happening. They believe in, like, some hyper predestination shit and, like, maximum traditionalism. And they basically reject a ton of what I would call, like, Christ-like principles, because, like the idea that you should, like, lift up the sick and the poor and the sinner. Because if you're a sinner, you're always to be a sinner. It's like a deterministic characteristic of you. And God literally produces sinners just to be, like, window dressing to the life of the chosen who are already always going to heaven, you know? Doesn't that defeat the purpose of heaven and hell? I have no fucking idea what the point of heaven and hell are supposed to be if it's already decided who's getting there. Like, life is literally just like a closed hallway line for people going to heaven and hell to get there. It's really weird. And don't they also believe that, like, there's a finite number of people who can go to heaven, meaning that even if you're a Calvinist, they believe that not even every Calvinist goes to heaven. So it's just like you always have to try to prove to yourself that you're perfect because you want to believe that you're the one who's going to go to heaven, even if it's already predetermined. The argument is, if you're going to go to heaven, you're the kind of person who always would have been the type to have worked hard enough to attempt to go to heaven anyway. Right? Or that might be some subgroups of Calvin. Yeah. And if you end up sinning, even if you were already a Calvinist, it's like, oh, so you were always going to go to hell then, and people reject you? I think this might be like, I might be mixing up a couple of the more, like, extremist Calvinist sects. Sects. How do you say sects without it sounding like sex? It's not really. JWs believe only 133,000 can go to heaven. Wait, really? What do you mean JWs? What is that in full? Jehovah's Witnesses? Oh, right, yeah. I have Jehovah's Witness family members. So I guess when they meet with me, you know, they're like, oh, I hope Vosh has fun in life before he inevitably goes to hell. Jehovah's Witnesses don't believe in hell? Really? Oh, well, hold on. Now things are getting a little nicer. So what, do I just get to spend forever in purgatory? They reject Trinitarianism, inherent immortality of the soul, and hellfire, which they consider to be unscriptural doctrines. They do not observe Christmas, Easter, birthdays, or any customs that have pagan origins. Oh, God. Are they? Oh, shit. They're like super Christians. Oh, my God. They're so Christian they don't even celebrate Christmas because it has pagan origins. Holy shit. Jesus Christ. Congregational disciplinary actions involve defellowshipping, their term for formal expulsion and shunning, a last resort for what they consider to be serious offenses. The group's position regarding conscientious objection to military service and refusal to salute state symbols has brought it in conflict with some governments. Oh, they're based. It's not based. It's not based. Suicide is considered to be self-murder and therefore a sin against God. Modesty in dress and grooming is frequently emphasized. Gambling, drunkenness, illegal drugs, and tobacco use are forbidden, even cigarettes. Drinking of alcoholic beverages is permitted in moderation. The family structure is patriarchal. The husband has authority on family decisions, but is encouraged to solicit his wife's thoughts and feelings as well as those of his children. Marriages are required to be monogamous and legally registered. Marry a non-believer is strongly discouraged and carries sanctions. Divorce is discouraged unless on the grounds of adultery, which is called a scriptural divorce. Yeah, okay. All right. Ugh. How about we read some donos? What am I looking at? JW's image for Jesus. Oh, God, really? Oh, this is great, dude. Is this their Jesus? He looks like a 80s, like, heartthrob. Why the short hair? Why the modern haircut? Yeah, why the Obi-Wan? Do they think Jesus had short hair specifically because long hair is, like, forbidden or whatever? Like, it's not modest enough in dress? That is wild. I can't believe that, like, a Jehovah's Witness would look at this, like, medieval painting of Jesus Christ, and they'd be like, this is sacrilegious. Sorry, hold on. I just pulled this image from a headline called, "Was Jesus a Catholic?" To which my answer is, I really don't know how that would be possible. He was a Jew. Yeah! Catholicism didn't exist back then. How could it have? He hadn't died. He was before his time. Yeah. Oh God. Let me can we let me pee and then we can do this? He was literally called King of the Jews. They know this. Oh no, Trump is the King of the Jews. Actually. To be fair, the more common depiction of Christ is probably wrong anyway. True. In reality, Jesus actually looked like this. Oh, that's a really low resolution image. Oh man, these are all low resolution images. There we go. It's sacrilegious to use a low res image. This is what he looked like. And those are the gates of heaven. We all know Jesus was dark skinned because it was like the Middle East or whatever. And there's like the light of heaven or whatever. And those are like the chains of the Romans or something. It's true. It's true. Is Lil Nas X hot? I feel like there's pretty much an objective answer to that, and you and me and everyone else knows what it is. Fucking true. You need to give Pam a little like atheist badge or something. Like the what is it? The little the spaghetti monster pin. You know what I mean? All right. Hold on. Let me pee and let me read donos, okay? Hold. I feel like my cam setup really does look quite a bit better. Here we go. You would not believe what a fucking Warhammer degenerate I've been. I have now read 7 of the 8 books in the Ordo series by Dan Abnett. The 3 of Eisenhorn, the 3 of Ravenor, and I'm midway through the second Beckwin. Well, some of you appreciate that. That's nothing, Vosh? Yeah, well, reading 7 books in a month is more than I normally do. All right. Let's read donos. We're a little bit behind, folks. We're more than a little bit behind. I'm going to have to read these quickly, okay? Conciliator, thank you for the tier 1 sub. My Silapsy, thank you for the continued sub. Old Man Shay with the tier 3 sub, thank you very, very much, and I appreciate that. Jason here with the gifted tier 1 sub, thank you very much. Casper Christensen with the $2. Soviet Ball and Lumo, thank you for the $5. If you could set up a debate between any 2 people, who would it be? I'd like to see Marx versus Adam Smith. I'd like to see me versus Trump. No, actually, me versus Marjorie Taylor Greene. That would be some good television. Tungsten, thank you for the very kind $8. I really appreciate that. I'll watch the Steven Crowder Nightmare animated vid. I promise I will. Thank you for the kind words. I appreciate that. Madfordite and Matthew H, thank you for the $5 both. Can we talk about games? I'm sure we'll find time. Jolliver, thank you for the $5. Know of good ways to learn economics. Chat, recommend some good YouTube channels that get the basics in economics out there. Matthew Ott, thank you for the 10 Australian. Really appreciate that. I might give it a look in the future, but no promises. Thank you. Any with the gifted tier 1 sub, thank you very, very much. The Willinator, thank you for the very kind $10. Yo, Daddy Vouch, my old job in Missouri stole my wages. They said I didn't qualify for overtime because I didn't work 40+ hours both weeks. Yeah, it's pretty fucked up. Wage theft is very, very common in the States. Matthew H. Well, yeah, and Sergeant, thank you for the $5 all. Really appreciate that. I'm really sorry, Sergeant. How come you keep having normal debates with people on the right, but lose your mind and quit when you debate, quote, leftists? Lose my mind and quit. Wait, Matthew H., you've been giving me a ton of money these past couple of streams. Are you a Dorite? I don't lose my mind and quit anything. The Jackson Hinkle debate ended because he was legitimately not responding to things I was saying. He was like a broken machine. If you're asking why I lose my mind and like why I get more heated with left-leaning people, it's because like a record, yeah. I legitimately think that like the lefties that I debate are stupider and more aggravating than a lot of the conservatives I debate. I mean this with complete sincerity. Tim Pool and Charlie Kirk are both significantly smarter than Jackson Hinkle, Mel, or any of the like tankies that I've had on here, with the possible exception of Hakeem, who I think is very smart, but who I disagree with substantially. And I mean that sincerely, by the way. I actually think they're smarter. They may be further from the truth on these issues, but I actually do think that, yeah. So, I don't know. It just can be pretty aggravating to deal with them. The Last Brickman, thank you for the very kind $5. Really appreciate that. Bipolar Bears, thank you for the tier 2 sub. Thank you, comrade. I really appreciate that. Rashak, thank you for the very kind $10. Could I shout out my partner's top surgery GoFundMe? Anyway, great job on the Kirk debate. You can. I'll post it in chat. I generally try to avoid that though, because I don't want my stream to turn into a bunch of people linking GoFundMes, and I get really sad, you know? Plus, I could only do so much for so many. You're free to post it in chat too. Literally Judas and AJ Suki, thank you for the $5 both. Really appreciate that. Good luck, AJ Suki. I do, literally Judas. Thank you likewise for the $5. Socialist Investor, thanks for the tier 1 sub. Quizzlepuzz with the $5. So noted. Transgirl Therapist, thank you for the very kind tier 2 sub. You covered my debate on the Transgirl Therapist channel while drinking. Fuck yeah. That is how everyone should cover all of my debates, ideally. That is the intended method. Lissandro Cruz and Sake Tanuki, thank you for the $10 both. I really appreciate that. I agree with your take on reparations for African Americans. What would you do to help the plight of Indian Americans? That's a really tough one. The reservation system really just doesn't work. I unironically think we need a 40 acres and a mule this shit. Let, like, provide some baseline level of infrastructural development for Native Americans in this country. All of them, so that they can get, like, their own communities, but at a level of... Native Americans, dumbasses. At a level that allows them to sort of par with the economic systems they live in. Basmadi, thank you for the very kind $15. Really, really appreciate that. Thoughts on Cheez-Its? White cheddar Cheez-Its are phenomenal. Goldfish aren't great. White cheddar Cheez-Its are amazing. God is not good and labor you. Thank you for the tier 1 subs both. I have not seen Mike Pillow talking with Pac-Man, but I can't wait to see in the future. Happy birthday, God is not good. That is awesome. Flavagzev, Jesus. And Rodzilla 2K, thank you for the $10 both. Really appreciate that. Thank you, Rodzilla. And Flav, I have no recommendations or no tips for getting your parents vaccinated. I'm really sorry. I never had to explain to my parents why it was necessary. Copy Floppy, Ev Rasmussen, Philly Guth, and the Real Big Weld. Thank you for the tier 1 subs all. Really appreciate that. You like the jacket? Oh yeah, I still have it here. No, it's wasted a little bit on another white shirt because it's a different kind of white, so it doesn't look as good. But I like this jacket, man. I'll bring out the drip in future debates that I do in person, okay? I just bought this off a rack at Macy's, and after saying that, somebody found the exact rack in DC that I got it from. I don't think it works with t-shirts. It doesn't work because this is a different white. You never want to wear colors that are extremely close, but not exactly the same shade. JC Carla Moreau, thank you for the very kind $2. Gelatin Skeleton, thank you for the 10 Canadian. Really appreciate that. The Marxist Mark, thanks for the tier 1 sub. MF Zoom with the $10. Thank you very much. I'm glad you like that analogy. Casper Christensen and Hermes Mora, thank you for the $5 both. So noted. Dino Man with the tier 2 sub, thank you very, very much. Sake Tanuki with the very kind $10. True Action Words with the incredibly kind $20. Going through the comments on Timcast IRL, I think you swayed some of them by being civil. Keep being more patient than I could ever be, and thanks. Yeah, you just it's an approach, you know? And I don't find it difficult to be civil in those situations. Hassan and Destiny both commented that they would have lost their shit if they were in that environment, which maybe I'm calming down with time, but I feel like I just get really angry talking with lefties, man. You know? That's the thing. Because I feel like every time I talk with a lefty, they're like almost deliberately destroying our chances of doing anything good. You know what I mean? When I talk with a righty, I mean, I know they're doing bad. I know, but I'm trying to like this an angle, you know, I try to affect it. But with, whenever I talk to a lefty, man, holy fuck. I know another streamer who now hates lefties the most. Uh-oh. Oh, God. Oh, no, it's happening. The infection. Oh, no. Adam DeBard and Jeremy Landry, thank you for the $2 both. Kowalski, thank you for the $5. I appreciate that. I heard of that. Yeah. Avalon 1, thank you for the $5. Arachnid JDS with the $10. Thank you very much. You're the one who's pulled me away from the transphobic crap that political YouTube is crawling with. Now, over a year later, I'm able to admit to myself exactly what I've always been, a woman. Shit, yeah. Fuck yes, absolutely. Remember, folks, when you cure people of their transphobia, you're helping them too. Congratulations and good luck with all the, the whatever you have to deal with on account of that. But I'm happy for you. I really am. It's Catlord98 in chat says, "You go, girl." Jay Daisy, thank you for the very kind tier 2 sub. Your favorite NB Medic finally subbing here. Hello. By the way, are you and Shu still in good terms? You seem to be going hard on her lately and wanted to ask. Love you. Yes. Shu and I are friends. Like I said, Shu has always been, ever since I started doing this whole YouTube thing, Shu's always been, like, friendly and supportive. And I'm friendly and supportive, too. She has really dumb takes sometimes. I'm not going to ease up on that just because people accuse me of easing up on that. They say, I feel like there are people in my community who anything short of, like, excommunication is they'll think I'm easy up because I'm friends with her, but whatever. Let's see. Wonderland Han, thank you for the $2. Could have brought up the Texan anti-CRT bill. Yeah, we didn't even get to that. I just she's cringe, but she's our cringe. Yeah. Why do people care so much about Vosh's relationship with Shu? Look, I've said this before. I'll say it again. Shu does a lot of highly objectionable stuff on Twitter. I think Big Joel's video breaks it down perfectly. It's not that Shu is a reactionary, because she's not. It's that Shu will say something that's, like, edgy, and there will be lefties who have a problem with it, but her response to that will be to go full fucking nuclear, and she'll end up actually regress in an effort to back away from the woke scoldy types. She'll, like, walk into, like, the shitty takes, and she does do that, yeah, but it's not like a active malice. General P Man, thank you for the $10. Gave it a look. Sake Tanuki with a very kind $20. How does Charlie Kirk's now known true size bolster my argument that he's a small human in a larger human suit? He is huge. I have a photo. I took a selfie with him and Tim. Can I show it? Could I didn't actually ask if I could show it. There's nothing objectionable in it. It's just a photo of us. I don't know. Are there any, like, behind the scenes secrets here? I don't see any behind the scenes secrets here. I mean, this seems totally fine. Here, I'll show it. I'll show it. There's no reason I shouldn't be able to show it. Hold on. Let me post this in Oh, there you go. Thank you, Hyena. There you go. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Go. Anyway, I'm 6'2", so this should give you an idea on how fucking tall Kirk is. I'm not standing fully straight here, but still, Jesus Christ. Yeah, he's huge. He's very, very big. Yeah. Just me and the boys. Draw the lines? Oh, wait, hold on. You are so right. How could I not? Open with Clip Studio Paint. All right, here we go. Line check. All right. Now, it's time to investigate the alpha energy we're bringing to this, okay? Okay, let's center Tim. Ooh, Tim. That is a strong line, Tim. That is a strong line. Looking good. Now for me. Oh no! Leaning into Tim a little bit. No! Beta! Then Charlie. Oh, even more! Beta! Beta! Tim held frame, though. Look at Tim holding frame. Beta! Yeah, we're all being pulled into Tim Pool's alpha orbit, you know? Yeah, look, the shortest guy, the biggest king. How tall are you? I'm 6'2". Charlie's 6'4", maybe bridging on 6'5", judging from the picture. Who's Tim? Tim's probably 5'10", I'd say. I'm hunched a little here, so I'm probably losing 1 inch, but not enough to change the order here. Would you call it the Sigma Order? True. This is such an awkward photo. Yeah, I demanded they both take a selfie with me. I asked them to. I wanted a selfie. Very good. Very, very good. Okay. Okay. Anyway, we close Clip Studio. And Shimniak, thank you for the $6. Thoughts on Sopranos / Breaking Bad? I've never seen Sopranos. Breaking Bad is, of course, phenomenal. I want to watch Sopranos sometime. The Biggest Lebowski, thank you for the very kind Tier 3 sub. Get interviewed by Code Miko already? Ah! Hey, look, if any of you have a connection there, then I'll give it a try. P.S. Millennial Girl with the 5 gifted Tier 1 subs, thank you very, very much. Thank you for appreciating my colorful background lighting. We'll be able to do much more fun stuff with our background colors now that our lighting is adjusted. I do all, and Pandora, thank you for the Tier 1 subs both. Oh, we'll talk about Cuomo, I do all. Trust me. It's going to have to be tomorrow, though, because I'm already running over time. I'm still really tired today, unfortunately. The sleep that I got was not enough, but I need to run through donations at least. Syken, thank you for the incredibly kind Tier 4 sub. I really, really appreciate that. Not going to lie, I want to blub, but you did great in that debate. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate that. We're getting into donos from the other day, so it's going to be a little bit more about that. What's that art on the back wall? That's Fully Cooley and JoJo. Excuse me. Dumbfuck alert? Uh-oh. Blosh claims the term white supremacist is never used in academia. There are literally hundreds of education workshops that surround white supremacy. Yeah, white supremacy, not white supremacist. The reason why the term white supremacist wouldn't really be used in academia is that it's used to refer to specific individuals, which isn't usually in the purview of academic analysis. White supremacy is talked about. The reason why I said the term white supremacy... Here, actually, let's listen to it so we can understand. This would be one of those things where I could understand you disagreeing, but if I give like 2 seconds more context. Racism, maybe compel a little bit more thought when discussed on. It's kind of a moral panic that, in principle, I really disagree with. But if you want to talk, I mean, we can call it wokeism if you want. That's probably a more accurate term.
Yeah, I will just say, to the point about Christopher Rufo, white supremacist is also used as a catch-all term in the other direction.
If we're talking, I mean, in academia, the term white supremacist is virtually never used. It's sort of a common parlance. Yeah, so what Tim Pool was saying here was that the term white supremacist is used as a sort of catch-all denunciation of the behavior of other groups, but that doesn't really happen in academia. Like, a catch-all denunciation of another group, that's not really, like, in the purview. And then the myth people, they link to a video of professors using the term white supremacist, I think. But that's not in academia, that's just professors. Now, I mean, I'll be a little lighter on this. There's probably somewhere in some academia the term white supremacist being used, but the point that I was making is that academia generally isn't in the business of making wide denunciations of people under the banner of a given term. It's usually concerned with ideas. Do people in chat know what I'm saying? Do you understand what I mean? Basically, you misphrased it. No, what I said was accurate. It just needs a bit more context to be fully understood, which I'm happy to provide, but I think the underlying point is salient, you know? Yeah, I stand by that. Ethan Diner and AT5D2D Derek, thank you for the $5 both. I like the part where Charlie Kirk asked you for permission to use the bathroom. Like, I don't know, maybe he had a big gulp on the way over. Who knows? Eric Plum, thank you for the very kind $10. I really, really appreciate that. Yeah, maybe. Action Words, thank you so much for the incredibly kind $30. I really, really appreciate that. Yeah, I think that was a good bit for me. Carpinia and John Leox, thank you for the $5 both. Really appreciate that as well. Johnny 2Tab and Jason here, thanks to the gifted tier 1 subs. Dash and Scan, thank you for the $5. Why does Charlie make faces when he talks? He behaves as if it's a cartoon. It's a very evocative way of speaking, like a very performative way of speaking. That's, you know, it's designed to elicit the attention of the audience. You know, it's performative. You'll notice I talk with my hands, though I didn't do that there because of where the mic was. Jason here, thanks to the 2 gifted tier 1 subs. Xerox, thanks to the tier 1 sub. And Jim Taro, likewise. Thank you as well. Summy99. Very kind all. Music Combo, thank you for the $5. Really appreciate that. Liam Gary and Rave Dubin, thank you for the tier 1 subs both. Yeah, sorry, no coconut analogy. I'll be sure to get to that next one. Emerald, thank you for the £5. Thank you very much, comrade. I'm reading all of these, of course. Mitukla is a dirty word in Urundi, Burundi, with the 666. Thank you. Really appreciate that. Sad Sam 222 and Thrax, thank you for the tier 1 subs both. Really appreciate that. The Atheist Brony, thank you for the very kind $10. Really appreciate that as well. Wish you'd given Charlie's religious mumbo jumbo some pushback. I could, but I feel like the average Tim Pool viewer is probably not religious, you know? So I don't know how much effort I had to invest in that. It felt like my debate juice could have been spent elsewhere, you know? I would have been a little bit more pointed on that if I was on, for example, like a more traditionally conservative show, you know? Like Tucker Carlson or something. I would be more pointed on that. But with Tim Pool's more, you know, it's a little more internet-y. I don't know. Oh God, there's so many. We're gonna And Shimnyak and Ingy Bingy, thank you for the $5 both. Luke Thompson with the 8. Australian still alive with the $5. Red Sickle with the incredibly kind 25. Thank you very, very much. Pixel Motor, thanks to the tier 1 sub. I'd say it's been pretty good, my friend. Paul DSSB, thanks to the 5 gifted tier 1 subs. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you very, very much. Vitiate, thank you for the $5. So saw. Jason here with the gifted tier 1 sub. Puff, Fizzy Dam, Bainbridge Born, Zesty Italian Balls, Alien Dude, thank you all for the tier 1 subs. I really, really appreciate those. Astro Nimbus, thank you for the tier 3 sub. Happy to hear you just got your shirt in the mail. Mailing off the last batch of them tomorrow, so everyone will be caught up. Ocular Red M and Shruggen Bug, thank you for the $5 both. Really appreciate that. No, nobody can touch my beard if we meet in person, but I appreciate the interest. Lena Lux, thank you for the sub. Cadser with the 4 gifted tier 1 subs. Thank you very, very much. That's awfully kind of you. Title Punk Roller Girl, thank you very much. So noted. Kane699, thanks to the tier 1 sub. Finish Theologian, thank you for the 5 gifted tier 1 sub. I really, really appreciate that. And with the tier 3 sub yourself, that's very kind of you. Okay, we're getting close to the end of these. Thank you. Frog from G City, thanks to the tier 2 sub. No, he did not fall for Alden's theory. Rodney Ironcock and Tom Bruno, thank you for the $5 both. Really appreciate that. Yes, Tom Bruno. I've since read up on Robert Malone, the inventor of that vaccine, so on. Economics Explained does good practical Egon stuff, and Crash Course Economics is good for the basics. I'll keep that in mind. No Justice, thank you for the very kind $5. Co-streaming your Charlie debate got me 100 extra YouTube subs and 10K extra views. Fuck yeah, awesome. I'm very happy to hear that. Joe McGinnis and Super Platinum Man, thank you for the $5 both. I really appreciate that. Will I invite Geoff Miami on his show? I've seen him on Twitter. I might at some point, though I can't make any promises. I got to work through a backlog here. Becco Masick, thanks to the tier 1 sub. Viathan with the tier 2 sub. Do you have any more details you can spill in your canvassing plans in 2022? No, because I haven't done any work at it in like 2 months. Got to work on that. We'll do it. Don't worry. We'll make it work, okay? I haven't done any work on that in like 2 months. Don't worry. We'll make it happen. Come on, man. Shut up. We'll make it happen. Jesus. You people are all so desperate to see me spend my money. Yeah. Blue Bubble, thank you for the very kind 20 bucks. I moved left because of you and Shu, who introduced me to you. After you debated Sargon, I realized how stupid he is, lol. Also, you and Shu still friends. Do more content together, please. I don't like doing collabs, like, with anyone, basically. But yeah, Shu and I are still friends. Juniversal with a very kind 20 bucks. Thank you very, very much. Yeah, I wanted to talk more about how the CRT thing is a moral panic, but Charlie basically conceded my two main points. He never argued for censorship, and in fact conceded to my arguments that there shouldn't be censorship. And additionally, he acknowledged that the term CRT was inaccurate when describing what was going on in schools. Jimmy's Room, thank you for the very kind $7. Really appreciate that. Thank you. Collab. Yeah, collab. Papa of the Johns, thank you for the very kind $10. I'll keep it in mind. Timmy Bullshit, thanks the £5. Maybe. He didn't learn anything from the critical race theory discussion. Well, we never talked about critical race theory. We talked about, like, the viability of, like, talking about progressive ideas with Charlie Kirk. I didn't talk much about, like, theory, but I think I got at the underlying drive, which matters the most to me. I did that whole thing on how criticizing America is important, and that's what builds the country up, and he didn't have a rebuttal to that. Don't you guys realize that was me winning on the CRT position? Like that right, it was there. That children should be taught about the country's flaws. I got at the underlying point, and I'm happy about that. I didn't waste time talking about the peripheral issue. Oh, no, craft punk, I understand that. The term, like I said, there are some contexts in which it is used. I was making the point that these were unalike. And that is true, by the way. I never saw the term white supremacist in my academic teachings, and I think for the most part it's used very, very sparsely. Because it is, again, a moral judgment. And that's generally not what academia focuses on. Though if you get into higher level stuff, you might run down to a greater degree of specificity, you know? On that sort of stuff. Timmy Bullshit, thank you for the £5. Andy Drew with the $5. What exactly is collectivism? Is it always a bad concept? I have no idea what it means. I just know conservatives hate it when it's applied to them. No, no. Collectivism, I think, just generally refers to the idea that people should, like, give a part of themselves to a broader collective interest, whether that be a religion or the state. Conservatives use it all the time to slander left-leaning people, but I am far less a collectivist than Charlie Kirk, so, you know. Yeah, collectivism is a value that is characterized by emphasis on cohesiveness among individuals and the prioritization of the group over the self. Yeah. Okay, almost done. El Carl, thank you, very kind $10. If you could write an anime plot that would be about leftism and leftist theory, what would that show be about? I literally want to write like a manga to that effect. I don't fucking know. That's a whole thing. Don't ask me that. Fuck you. Daryl Jack, thanks to the $2. I will, don't worry. And Shimniak, I have never spoken to Lindsay Ellis. Poetic Poser, thank you for the very kind $5. No, it did not. Through the Wormhole, thank you for the very kind $5. And Saren Raps, thank you likewise. Really appreciate that. Haven't seen Backrooms. Speed Weenie, thanks to $10. I'm fairly new to Twitter, but I owe my most liked tweet to you. Yeah? So noted. Oh yeah, Socialist MMA is a dumb fuck. God, that old debate with him. Blood Tinge Proto, thanks to $10. Great job on the Kirk debate. Can you signal boost this? The Line 3 tar sands pipeline endangers clean water and food systems of native people. Well, I suppose this is something you should take a look into if you can. Here, I'll link it in chat. I don't know enough about it to really, like, promote it. It's kind of hard to signal boost something if you don't know about it. Jason here, thanks to the gifted tier 1 sub. Finger Trouble with a very kind $10. What is this? Australian politician is drunk on the Senate floor? What? What in the ever-loving shit am I looking at? Whatever. Australia's a shithole. And Lefty McLefterson, thank you for the very kind $20.21. When Pigeon and Artemy put aside their differences and learned to team up to disrupt Vouch's stream. This is copyright! What is this? What the fuck is this? SWAT cats? Oh, this is what would this be? 90s cartoon if I ever saw one? Yep, 90s. You're not copywriting me, motherfucker. And Weapon Factory, thanks to the $2. Bausch, got some explaining to do. True. Oof. Well. What do you think the likelihood of me getting canceled for that picture of me with Kirk and Tim is? Like, I go there and I debate them and, like, that's okay. But then I took a picture of them with them, and that's the bit. Like, that's the going too far, you know? Extremely high, to be honest. Yeah, I remember when, like, was it Contra? Contra Points was canceled because she was on the same side of the table as, like, Shoe on Head or something. Yeah. What are you gonna do, huh? What are you gonna do? Seems likely. You look like you're the only one having fun in that pic. Should have been crushing a beer or something. Yeah, well, I was the one who pulled them both in. That picture will be used in like 6 months to say you're conservative or something. Yeah, well. All right, I think, tragically, that this is going to have to be where I end the stream. I have some other stuff I need to take care of. Call it errands. I love you all very much. I'm going to stream tomorrow morning. I'm pretty sure. So you'll be able to see me then. It'll be Pog and Cool. So you can have fun with that. Everyone have a wonderful day. Thank you for showing up, and I'll be sure to see you soon, okay? All right, you get it. Wait! Who's streaming on Twitch? Let's go, Zan. Let's raid Xander Hall. All right, get in there, folks. Be kind. Be good. Be decent. And be fair. All right. Peace out, everyone.